So, we are on to another street talk. Gemma, we got 5 full episodes again this week, but it's not for long. Corrie's only on 3 times next week. Did you know this?
Yeah, I did.
Monday,
actually.
Wednesday and Friday. So it's going to be a super short street talk next week, unless there's anything majorly exciting that happens and keeps us waffling on for hours. But what is going on with this scheduling? I think it's like football one day and rugby another day.
What sport is that? I've never heard of it.
I think at this time I had to teach another rugby lesson at school today. So
did you say, right, remember, don't get muddy? That's the number one rule.
That was my number one rule for rugby, yeah. We did play on the playground, so it was fine.
Sounds painful.
So it was tag rugby, no tackling, it's all right. I think that this time of year there is often a little bit of disruption in the schedules, or at least there has been for the past 2 or 3 years. So I've seen people out there saying, oh, what's going on? They've only just settled into this 5 days a week. And now they get cutting down to 4 some weeks, 3 some weeks. I do think that this is a bit of a spotty time of the year, so I wouldn't worry too much. It's probably going to be another one around the summer. Is there a football on this summer? I
think there's a World Cup in America.
Is there? Is that this year? I literally didn't know.
I don't know how that's going to go.
Yeah. So it's going to go. We're going to be back into the swing of normal 5 episodes a week for a good run in the near future, I'm sure. But so I got some clickbaits for you, Gemma, to start off with. They're all from the Manchester Evening News this week, so there's a bit of a theme going on.
Good for them.
My first one is Coronation Street involved in another crossover, as fans say, as if.
What?
What's this going on? What is this?
As if what?
You know exactly what this is.
I know exactly what it is. It's Marvel. It's what was it called? I've forgotten the
Wonder Man.
Wonder Man.
Yeah,
is a show that they've made, and Sir Ben Kingsley is reprising his role.
Corrie Alum, yeah.
As Trevor Slattery or whatever his name is. And yeah, he was in previous Marvel movies, but he's an actor in the show.
So in this MCU show, he is an actor.
Yeah.
And Ben Kingsley was on Coronation Street very briefly, but I think it was in the late 60s. He's such a minor part that it doesn't have its own Corripedia page, but still, we can still claim him as ours, can't we? So what was it? Because I watched the clip days ago, but I know you've been having a look at a bit about this since. So it's mentioned Coronation Street is name checked in this show, right?
Yeah, this character's called Simon, comes to his house and he sees a VHS tape which has got Coronation Street written on it, and it's got episodes 616 to 619 and 464 to 649.
Oh, and are those actually the episodes?
And those are actually the ones that he was in. He starred Ron Jenkins.
Yeah, so Ron Jenkins was the character that he played, and
yes.
I think in this video clip, Ron Jenkins gets a name check, doesn't he? So in the MCU, Tony Slattery played Ron Jenkins, but in real life, Ben Kingsley. It was
only Ben Kingsley
played Ron Jenkins. So I thought that was great. And the internet, well, just a little bit of the internet for a little snippet of time at the beginning of the week went absolutely nuts over the fact that Coronation Street is canon in the Marvel universe, didn't they? Us included. We put a few. Gemma did a really good tweet where they had some blokes dancing along to Hilda Ogden.
That was Star-Lord.
I've got no idea.
I thought that was brilliant.
Movies, man.
It didn't go viral. I thought it should have done because it was hilarious.
I know it should have done. So I very much enjoyed that. I thought that was a fun little thing.
And we haven't said this because it was on our Patreon, so not everyone heard about it. But if you watch the 7 Kingdoms of West, what is it called? Night of the
Seven Kingdoms, which is the latest Game of Thrones spin-off.
Bill Ward was in it. Who played?
Bill Ward, Charlie Stubbs.
He was in it as a knight.
It was all kind of
and he looked really good.
He does, doesn't he? He does, yeah.
He looked really good as a knight.
It was chatting with me that youthed him, obviously.
Well, yeah, and also they were like, this guy, we've got to get him back.
But they didn't say, so what's the name? Weren't you in Corrie once upon a time? But I thought that was fun. Okay, so that was the first little clickbait. My next 3 from Manchester Evening News, I'm going to say a little bit slack with the headlines here because they all follow exactly the same pattern. I'm going to read you all these out in succession, Gemma, and then you can tell me what you think they all are.
Okay.
So first one from the MEN. Second, I suppose. Coronation Street fans issue same complaint as Ryan Connor attacked in Carl Webster setup. Then, Coronation Street fans spot same problem with Billy Mayhew's funeral as stars speak out. Finally, Coronation Street fans ask same question as Sam Blakeman threatened by Megan Walsh. So they're all saying that fans are asking the same thing as something is happening. So do you wanna have a guess at any of these ones?
Fans issue same complaint as Ryan Connor. Oh, they're like, oh, poor Ryan.
That's part of it, yeah. Part of the complaint was, oh dear, poor Ryan. Isn't it sad for Ryan? Ryan is part of Team Swala, so we must love and protect him at all costs. But any other things about that scene that people might have been complaining about?
His shirt was too tight.
No.
His shirt wasn't tight enough.
No.
I don't know then.
Well, when we were watching it, we had a little bit of a complaint, which I don't think featured in the article, that when the guy got hit over the head and then collapsed despite having a helmet on, it was a little bit Mickey Mouse, wasn't it? But no, the other complaint that this article was focusing on was that Carla and Lisa weren't in Coronation Street this week to comfort Ryan in his hour of need.
They also complained that they weren't there when Roy got hit as well.
Yeah. Anytime Lisa and Carla are not on the show, there's going to be some complaints from some people. But yeah, poor old Ryan left to fend for himself after a horrific attack incident, and maybe he had flashbacks about the acid attack, and despite that they still didn't have Lisa and Carla in there to comfort him. So
well, Carla was left in a shipping container for a year and nobody cares.
Exactly. Right. So what's the same problem with Billy Mayhew's funeral?
Carla and Lisa weren't in it.
No,
but people were complaining about that too, because basically,
were they?
Well, yeah, because it was basically their fault, really.
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, you're not.
I don't go to funerals of people that I killed. Do you? It's embarrassing.
I'm not gonna say that it's Carla and Lisa's fault that Billy's dead. But Joe, you're not a million miles away from the main crux of the complaint.
Not enough people.
Not enough people at Billy's funeral.
They could have got some Corrie fans in. I would have sat in the back.
I don't think that Equity would have been happy with that. Oh. But.
I don't mind joining Equity.
I was momentarily fooled, and I think that's what Coronation Street might have been hoping, because when you saw those shots of the church looking down into the congregation, the pews that you see are fairly full up, but then you cast your eyes to the edge of the screens, and it's like, no, there is an awful lot of empty space to the left and the right of that congregation, wasn't there? And considering that he was, the vicar, he was beloved by all his parishioners. Like, literally, what was it? 3 rows were filled up by main Corrie characters there, I think. Maybe
Nobody
4.
in his congregation bothered coming.
Well, I think some did, but the fact, it must tell you that the church isn't very full on Sundays if they can manage to fill up about a third of it with mourners. I just think it was really sad, because as the episode went on, you had a couple of excuses like, oh, Sarah Lou can't come to the funeral because Harry's been sick overnight. And I think things like that always just kind of highlight and make a big thing when it isn't necessarily needed of somebody not being there. It's just like getting your excuses in, But you had, Gemma and Chesney were there, I think. Eva was there as a token Billy friend. The main players who had some drama going on. But yeah, I was a little bit let down by the funeral episode, to be honest. And I think what I'll say about this week's Coronation Street is that my views on certain episodes certainly didn't align with those of the majority of other viewers, because I think, from what I gather, lots of people like the funerals, right? You really liked the funeral episode. You talked about how brilliant the direction was. And you told me to rewatch it, and I didn't rewatch it. No, I haven't got around to it. But what was it about the?
I just thought the angles were really good. I thought that it was there was quite a few scenes where it felt like quite oppressive, and I can't
remember what the name of the director was that did it.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I mean, you put out a tweet.
It was right in my head.
I forgot to say.
Lacey. Somebody Lacey.
Okay. Your tweet about that did make its way into this Manchester Evening News article, by the way. Yeah, because it was saying that lots of fans are complaining that basically the church was half empty, but then at the bottom it says, but some fans thought it was wonderful, and then
idiots.
Then it posted your tweet, so you made it, Gemma. Well done. Yeah, we'll talk obviously a lot more about the funeral later. And what about this Sam Blakeman? Oh, which also my tweet featured in this article.
Wow,
because I put a tweet out saying it was lovely having Sam back in a main role at the beginning of the week, and that featured. But what is the same question that all Coronation Street fans are asking about Sam Blakeman now he's back on the show?
How did he get so old?
Basically, that's what it boils down to. How did he get so old, and is that the same actor playing him? And the answer is, yes, it is definitely him. I think we talked about this last week. Do you think that, have you been surprised about how he looks? Do you think he looks significantly different, that it's caused such a storm on Twitter and Instagram?
He does look. I think it's because we haven't seen him, have we? We haven't seen him for ages.
I think I said last week on the podcast that when I think of Sam, I still generally thinking of his little cherubic 8-year-old self. If you were to list like Sam Blakeman, what's he like? That was what would come into my head. But I suppose that makes sense because that's how we've known him. But he's just kind of been pulled up a little bit, hasn't he?
That's what children do.
I think the fact that we have followed Jude on Instagram, so we've kind of like seen him grow over the past 2 years since he's had his spurt, makes it less of a surprise. I can understand that people might be a bit surprised by it, but I don't think he looks so significantly different that I'd be asking, is that a new actor? Because to me, it's very clearly him.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't.
We'll...
It's just sort of like, sometimes online, I hate it.
Do you?
Honestly, it's just everyone hates each other, don't they? Like,
well, this isn't a hate story.
No. Let me
story.
explain. Nobody can just go, oh look, he looks different, without everybody going, oh, what do you think children do? They get older. It's not a different person, you moron. I never said that, you idiot.
This is
Why
true.
don't you go and die in a hole?
Well, I'm not criticising anybody who thinks that Sam looks a little bit different, but I'm just saying I don't think that. Anyway, that's the end of our clickbait for the week, so we can talk about Coronation Street now properly. And I really struggled with separating it into different stories this week. I've ended up with just like 3, because obviously the Billy funeral did take up, and the preparations for the funeral and the aftermath of the funeral was really what a lot of this week's Corrie was about. So we'll kick off with the Kill Bill stuff, which I've sort of shoved the Todd and Theo bit into it because that comes to a head. And also, obviously, the funeral itself. But then I've put the Bernie story separately. I've called that Burnout and Malconduct. Because, it's Bernie, she's out. She's suffering burnout. There's Mal. They go up to Malconduct together. It just fits. But I am sad to be losing pros and cons from that. I thought that was, for me, just right off the bat, Thursday's episode of Coronation Street, absolute banger of an episode. And I was really, really shocked to go online afterwards once he'd recorded and uploaded the short to see that it didn't go down well.
Yeah, I know. I was so. We do our poll on Twitter, so follow us if you don't follow us at Conversation Straw. And every day we ask people what they thought of the episode, and what was it? 60% of people said they didn't like it.
Yeah, something like that.
I was so shocked because. Yeah. I thought it was like genuinely really good episode.
People.
I hated how it started. We both said that we hated how it started.
As soon as that started and it was Bernie looking sad and panda-eyed on the bed, it's like, oh no, don't.
Well, the music as well. I was like, can we not, please? We don't need this. Stop it now.
But once it got going, it's like, no, this is a really great episode. And lots of people said it was really slow. I think I totally. If a lot of your complaints for that episode come from the direction, from
I don't get
the
how
music,
it was slow.
Fine. But no, people saying, oh, it's really slow and not much happened, and I don't get that complaint at all. Go on.
It was the same director again, wasn't it? Is it Michael Lacey?
Possibly.
I thought he was fantastic. The way that he directed it, like, you kept hearing people talking about Bernie or around her, and it was just focusing on her and nobody else. That was really clever. It kind of showed how isolated she was. Yeah,
I thought it was cracking. And as I was watching it, I was thinking back to what I'd said after the David and Shona and Harper birth episode a few weeks ago, which was, this works really nicely in the half an hour format, just having this one episode dedicated to this one story and a bit of a character study, and which mostly on Coronation Street you will get your A storylines which dominate, but then you've always got your B's and your C's and what have you. And I said after the David and Shona, I wonder if they'll do that more. And 2 weeks later, I wouldn't count Bernie's episode on Thursday as being a, special episode in inverted commas necessarily. It was more just it's just the Bernie story. And I think it really benefited from being just about Bernie. I know it can sometimes seem strange on Coronation Street when it cuts from one scene, a character in one place, and then the next scene is the character in the different place, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it doesn't fit with like the general.
No, but I was able to put that one side and happily did as I was watched Thursday. And I just thought it was really, really good. Whereas, like I said, the funeral scenes I thought were okay. And the week ended on a bit of a downer, really, didn't it? Today's episode didn't light things up for us.
Inconsequential.
Yeah.
And I know people have said that maybe part of the reason they didn't like it was because it was also miserable, and I definitely agree.
Oh yeah.
It's all very miserable at the moment, and do we need that? It's January. We're all sad. We don't.
It has all been fairly bleak this week. Although Bernie having a rave up in the hotel room, that was it was fun, but maybe with a tinge of melancholy, considering she's just trying to get over.
Yeah.
She's definitely going through a grieving process.
And I also saw some people saying, "No, it doesn't make sense. Why was she sad when Billy died, and she wasn't like this when Paul died?" It's like it was just the straw that broke the camel's back. Like she just couldn't deal with another.
And I think she was pretty upset when Paul died, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know that she wanted to celebrate Paul's life and have a rave up and have him blasted off into space, then sort of dance around in the rain with Billy, but she was definitely still grieving her son. And you're right, I think it was just the combination. If you've got these two guys who you're kind of close to, I wish she'd got a chance to call him Bill in the funeral episode, because I do like that that's what she used to refer to Billy as.
Also, I thought that it felt quite realistic in a kind of underplayed way, because I think that Corrie likes to just blow everything up all the time, so nothing ever really feels of consequence. But this episode, I mean, she took a pill and she danced around in a hotel room, but she didn't kill anybody, she didn't run in front of traffic, and a man swerved and hit an orphanage. It was just it felt so realistic and very in keeping with Bernie's character, that she just kind of like gone, you know what, screw it, I'm going to get off my tits on cake.
What did she say? Off my cake, I think was the actual word, Gemma. There were no tits anywhere in the script.
Honestly, if Coronation Street was on any later, that Bernie would have flashed people, and I bet also she'd be puffing on a cigarette every episode if she had the chance.
I bet she would. What did you think? I know we're kind of going all over the place with this, but the flash forward element to it, because there were a couple of flash forwards as the episode went on, and not everybody likes that. Certainly no Kate Brooks does. Did that bother you?
No, it didn't bother me. I don't know how necessary it was, but I thought maybe it was needed.
I'm not going to say a flash forward is ever needed. I thought it did lead to a little bit of confusion at the beginning of the episode, because the previous day she'd had a bit of a Barney with Dev, hadn't she, after the funeral? And we'd said, what's up with her? Why's she having a snapping Dev's head off? And then you saw her in the hotel room, and it's like, oh, so she went to a hotel. And then the next scene, she's downstairs putting her makeup on, and then it's like, hang on a minute, is that room that she was just sitting in her bedroom, and now it's fast forward it? But it soon, I don't know, maybe I'm just being slow and a bit thick with it, but I don't think it was telegraphed as well as it might be that it was a flash forward. Not that I need, scrolling marquee down the bottom saying, this is the future. But
I think you do.
I was very engaged in the fact that the first flash forward, or maybe it was the second one, I don't remember, I think there was only two, led you to believe that she had been unfaithful to Dev and slept with this other guy.
Yeah, that's why I like this, because she didn't.
No, and although that made me really mad and going, oh no, don't do that to Bernie. Well, Bernie wouldn't do that, or maybe she would, but I don't want her to have done that. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning of the episode, I was quite mad that they gone through what it seemed to be yet another affair, or one night stand story. But as the episode went on, and it turned out that no, she hadn't. She just had a bit of a lie down with him and shared a few E's. It was more innocent than it originally seemed, and then you get the feeling of relief, like, oh, thank goodness for that. And I think that added to my positive feeling about the episode, that I was expecting it to, I was expecting to be more disappointed in Bernie than I actually was. So I thought it was a cracking episode. I don't necessarily believe that final scene of her passed out next to the toilet in the club was necessarily needed, because nothing really came from that, did it?
Just dramatic.
Like, the next episode, it starts with her just coming out of the hospital, so
yeah,
I'm going to say, what's the point? Was it just there as a cliffhanger, like, is she dead next to a toilet? And I did quite a lot, again...
No, it's just showing that she ended up in a club.
Yeah, speaking of the direction, though, I did quite like the fact that the camera was, like, positioned over the toilets, and you could see the women banging on the door and her inside, and it did look proper grimy and minging, didn't it? So I enjoyed watching it. I just thought that it might turn into something a little bit more. But anyway, that's a long and short way of... Well, not at all short. That's a long way round of saying that's going to be our second storyline, just looking at Bernie's grieving process. But there was also a little bit of the Megas Preggers story at the beginning of the week, which had an awful lot of salmon. What do you want to do, Gemma? Do you want to do Bernie, or do you want to do the funeral?
You pick.
You go first. You go first this week. What's been going on with poor old Billy's funeral and lovely Todd and Theo?
Well...
Lovely Todd and not lovely Theo.
One bit of clickbait that I can't believe that nobody picked, or did they? I don't know. Surprise shock return from the dead for Paul on Coronation Street, because his ashes have been found in a halfway house, and we had to pause and think about this and remember back to the time when Billy befriended a ne'er-do-well kind of not friend of Paul's, who stole Summer's laptop and a bag and Paul's ashes.
I honestly
from the house.
I don't actually remember that. This was a year and a half ago, and I told you my memory's getting worse these days. But we paused it.
I don't remember you saying that.
Yeah, no, I think it really is. We paused it and we did a little bit of online Googling, didn't we? And like, oh yeah, Billy lost the ashes. But I wonder, like, when that happened, was it the plan that far back for that they would turn up for this? I can't remember what Dan said when I spoke to him about how far in advance of his departure this was all planned. But what was the original plan for the missing ashes if it wasn't this? Because I totally forgot, and it definitely felt like it could have been a plot thread where we'd been going, well, this is week 42 and still no sign of Paul's ashes. What's going on there, Coronation Street? Have you forgotten about it?
Well, I was glad to see Summer's bag back, because I quite like that bag. So Summer's got the ashes at work, and Bernie is not the only person who's been falling apart this week, because Summer decides to start drinking on the job. She's working at Dev's, and she starts downing strawberry daiquiris like there's no tomorrow. She starts to get very woozy when Roy comes in and gets a bit over familiar with him, and then starts to panic that she is crashing and she needs insulin. So
I saw some people complaining about this. Apparently what she said, I can't remember I think she said, I'm hypo, no, I'm hyper, and I need my insulin, or something along those lines. And I saw some people saying, what Summer is going through, that's not what would then require insulin. Bad issue, awareness raising, Coronation Street, but I don't know about
she was
things
drunk,
like that,
so she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Didn't bother me.
Summer, Roy helps Summer clean up all the cans and tells her to go to counselling, and
I think he probably says it in a bit more a gentle way than that.
Go to counselling.
Clean out your cans. Get to counselling, Summer. For heaven's sake, stop marging up the place. I'm the person whose job it is to stand behind a counter looking miserable. We can't have it in two places here.
No.
And Rita, I mean, when she's at the cabin, she's not the cheeriest of hosts, is she either? So
Roy tells Dev comes back and very sternly tells her that she has to go. She's not ready for work. He's going to send her home. And she gets really upset and says, no, I need to work. I have to work. I can't sit at home. I need this. And he's like, no, you can't. You're not ready. Go home.
It's funny how kind of the week started off with Summer's grief and, what she's feeling about this and how it's affecting her, and how her life, she just can't, it's just on pause, and she wants to get back to normal, but she can't. And then once the funeral came around, we didn't really see any of that again, and Bernie took over.
Interesting.
Whereas, I don't know, it makes sense that we would obviously see Summer's reaction to this, and I think if we hadn't seen Summer grieving, we just said, Corrie, I think you're missing out on a trick here. But Bernie's struggling to cope with the grief of Billy dying did seem to... No, it's not coming out of nowhere because it's obviously what triggered it, but on Wednesday's episode when Bernie starts having a go at Dev, it just feel like it was like, oh, what's going on there?
We can't follow every character being sad about everything all the time.
This is true. Otherwise it'd be everybody, wouldn't it? On sad cam.
Yeah. So Summer says, I just want to be normal, and then she leaves. She goes home. I don't know what she ends up doing.
Oh, so I haven't told you about this one either, Gemma. Because of all the stuff with Carl, it is tied up with this. Originally I had his little dalliance with Jodie as a separate story, but then that didn't really go anywhere. So it's all kind of thrown in. So also on Monday, Gemma.
Well, you can do this one, because this one will be quite long.
Well, basically, Carl gets together with Jodie, doesn't he? And it's a little bit of a...
gross.
No, it's a bit of a fake out, because Shona is... No, sorry, Abby comes round to number 8 to talk with Jodie and says, look, watch out with this Carl, he's a bad seed. Oh, this was a brilliant line, wasn't it? This is when Shona says that he was diddling the bloke down the road too, and Bethany says he's bi, and Jodie's like, sexual? And Shona's response is, no, lingual. I thought that was very funny. As always, much better delivered by the professional actors.
I thought it was great how Shona kind of said it as though only the most weird and exotic of people would be bilingual.
Well, in these parts.
I know, but that's the point of it. That's why it made me laugh, because he should be bilingual, and so should Bethany. And actually, it turns out he was bilingual because he was reading German later in the episode.
Oh yeah, he's sitting on the bed reading his gobbledygook on his laptop, isn't he?
Many layers of that joke, I thought.
I thought it was a very good joke. I liked it. So
and one of the few times on Coronation Street that anyone acknowledges the word bisexual.
Yes, exactly. I thought you would notice that. So Carl gets chatting with Jodie in the cafe later, and it sounds like they've been texting each other last night, because I think it was Friday last week. Is when they kind of started making eyes at each other. But Jodie says, "Well, I'm not interested in your type. Homewreckers, no, don't need that. Thank you very much." And Jodie says, "Thanks, Abby, for letting me know, for keying me in on this one." But at the end of the episode, it turns out that, much like Becky Swain, she is a massive, massive fibber, because I think, is it the very end of the episode? I think it might be. You cut to the hotel and they've just had a bunk up at the Chariot Square Hotel. Exactly same room as Bernie was in later in the week, I'm going to say. And they agreed to keep things quiet because that's Carl's speciality after all, Jodie says. So Carl and Jodie are secretly at it.
Gross.
But that doesn't get mentioned again for the rest of the week. Carl does feature, but not this. I just don't like that story development whatsoever. I don't think I despise it any more than I despised it on Friday, but I was really quite invested in Jodie's story last week, and, well, the lack of story, because she's a very mysterious woman. We don't know anything really about her, do we?
I know she's a wrong-un.
We know she's a wrong-un. We know she's a liar. We know she was wrapped up in the back of Graham's van on Corriedale, but she's just been lying and lying and lying to Shona about what's been going on. And I was like, oh yeah, that's really intriguing. And as soon as Carl enters, it's like, oh, get in the bin. I don't want to see you together. There were a couple of appearances of Carl actually this week, because there's the other one on Tuesday's episode at the end. I was like, oh no, not Carl. Just when he springs up, it just turns my stomach, because this guy, he just winds me up properly. Although it turns out that on Twitter, on the other poll that you did, he's quite the favourite, at least compared to Theo, right?
I didn't do a poll. I just said who'd you back
in the Battle of the Baddies?
Yeah,
As Amy Cudden mentions.
I just said, I don't understand why people were taking it so seriously that they were getting offended at the question. But anyway,
were they?
Well, some people were like, oh, well, and it doesn't matter. I'm just fed up with Twitter.
People were getting offended that you were picking which you like out of two horrible
I know,
men,
and then other people were arguing like, oh, how do you think that domestic abuse is funny?
It's like, come on,
it's not really funny, but you can make a joke out of anything, to be honest with you.
But yeah, they were all siding with Carl, weren't they?
Yeah, I guess so.
See, I much prefer watching Theo to Carl. There's like not even an ounce of competition there. When Theo comes on the screen, I'm like, ooh, what horrible things are he gonna do now? What's he gonna do?
But Carl is not an issues bully and a villain, and Theo is.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I'm there going, Carl, the utter arse, split up Abby and Kevin, he's rinsing Debbie, He's did all those MOTs.
So who do you think's the worst person then out of the two of them?
The worst person, just like from a soul point of view.
Yeah.
It's really tricky, and I know there's everyone screaming, "It's Theo," but part of Theo, a big part of Theo, clearly knows what he's doing. But I think there are parts of Theo where it is just the jealousy, the insane jealousy and self-loathing and hatred from everything that's come from this conversion therapy, all of his bad experiences with the church. He's just really so insecure about himself that I think some of the stuff he kind of does without thinking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a pattern that he's got into. Carl, nothing he does is by mistake. It's all planned. He knows that he's rinsing his, I was going to say mother, but he thinks it's his sister at this point. He knows that he's putting people's lives in danger when he's sending cars off with the dodgy MOTs. He knows that he's being an utter sleazeball when he's making eyes at Abby and shagging her in the hotel, whilst at the same time diddling the bloke from down the road, James Bailey.
He also left Debbie on the floor that time.
Yeah, exactly. He's done an awful lot.
And he made out that she was the one that crashed the car.
He's done an awful lot to characters that I really quite like, right? That's making me think he's more directly and overtly villain.
Yeah.
Whereas Theo, I'm not defending him, obviously, but I do think that there's there are more circumstances for me that explain why he might be behaving that way. And I know you can say, well, Carl, he had a difficult upbringing. Elaine was a bad mother to him. She didn't show him enough love. Fine, yeah, I get that totally. But Carl really, really just makes my skin crawl and my blood boil. But Theo doesn't in the same way. I know he's really vile to Todd, but from an entertainment point of view, and I say the same about Becky Swain, I enjoy watching Theo more than I watch Carl. Who would you say was the worst person?
I prefer watching Carl. I quite...
Wow.
I think he's he makes me laugh a little bit.
Usually we're on the same page with almost everything Corrie-wise, aren't we? But with it's, maybe as the year's going on, we're starting to diverge a little bit more.
I can't believe this.
Kit, for one thing.
What's it going to end with?
So, I mean, you are obviously siding with the masses here, or the masses are siding with you. So I'm sure we'll have some comments on the Facebook group saying, yes, Gemma, obviously Theo is the wrongest wrong one here.
Well, yeah, I mean, my question on Twitter was, who are you backing? Because obviously we find out that there's a bit of going to be a rivalry between these two. And I think that Theo's downfall has to come from Todd. It can't come from Carl. Otherwise, it doesn't feel narratively satisfying. Although I'm sure that they could pull something off. I'm not sure. I don't know.
And I also, Theo is partly responsible for Billy's death. Could he have rescued him?
Theo is partly responsible.
Quite possibly. I mean, there was a car crash.
Killed him.
There were lots of people there. No, I know. He totally did. I put blame 100% in his camp. It was him. But the remorse that he's shown afterwards, I believe is genuine. The upset is genuine. And I don't think I've seen Carl showing an ounce of remorse for anything
Carl's
he's done.
Trail of destruction seems to be wider. But I think Theo is worse because he killed somebody and so what if he cries about it? I don't care. He's also... I'm always fascinated by these abusive characters like Jeff as well. How much do they understand what they're doing? How much of it is conscious? How much of it can they actually... if you told them, would they go, oh no... That's true. I better not do that. Is it possible for them to ever change?
I think some things Theo does do just naturally without even thinking, but we've definitely seen him very purposefully do things on purpose, like when he made Todd late for that important funeral.
Yeah, but he thinks that he's doing it for a reason. He deserves this because he's not. It's really
he's doing it for a reason,
really
but also
interesting.
Also because he's terrified that if Todd loses him, he'll be left on his own. And I think that fear is genuine.
Todd loses him.
Ted leaves him, he'll be on his own. And I think that fear is genuine. Again, it doesn't excuse him killing Billy.
What's the
point? Even if we'd gone back, 3 weeks before that happened, most people would still be saying that Theo is the most villainous villain here.
What's the point of getting guns like he's got if you're going to worry about being single? I mean, the hair alone.
Yeah, just get that picture back on Gay Bay again and you'll be snapped right up.
I've definitely seen a lot of people say that they reckon Theo and Carl are going to either shag each other or kill each other.
I've seen some people with those. What do you think?
I don't know. It's just mucky, isn't it?
It could be a real power play from one of the others.
Is this
one of them?
Would this be one of the few times two villains have got together? Like, is the last time two villains shagged each other Tracy and Charlie Stubbs? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
That's a really good one. That's how I think about that. But they don't two villains, even from totally different stories, teaming up.
Well, they're not teaming up.
But it's not teaming up. It's not teaming up. If they're
giving into their carnal desires.
Yeah, but I wonder if they ever did get together, whether it would be one person tricking the other one into bed.
I don't know.
But I think that if that was going to be the case, it would be Carl tricking Theo rather than the other way around. I can't see Carl being naive enough or gullible enough to think that if Theo comes, flexing his biceps at him, that he's actually...
What if they got together and they decided they liked it and then became like an evil couple? It wouldn't work, would it? Because Theo's evil because of how he treats Todd, and I don't think that... I can't see him doing that to Carl.
No.
Because Carl will be like, no, you can't see my accounts because I'm stealing money from my sister.
Yeah, so that has been quite an interesting discussion on the old Corrie social media this week, hasn't it? If you had to pick a side, who would it be?
I know, but equally, if you don't want to pick a side...
I don't back either. I just enjoy watching one more than the other.
If you don't want to pick a side, it's fine. You don't reply to the tweet. You just move on. It's okay. It's not a summons from the police. You don't have to attend court and just put your hands on a Bible and tell me which one.
No.
You could just leave it. So on Tuesday, Todd comes back from a run and it comes in and Theo's come back from his parents and he gives Todd a big hug.
Remember, he was visiting his mum.
No.
That's why the story's not been in it for a little while.
Bernie comes in and says, I'm really worried about Summer. Maybe this is what made Bernie begin to crack, seeing Summer fall apart.
Yeah, maybe, and her not being able to
do anything about it to comfort her because she's also being eaten up inside, maybe.
So
Debbie is in the cafe with Carl and she's doing a load of spreadsheets and making arrangements.
She's made a decision, hasn't she? She knows. It's not, would you call it being pessimistic or is she just being practical? Because Debbie is preparing for the worst here. I love how camp preparations for prison are. Like, yeah, okay, put your affairs in order, but she's also sleeping on the floor. We made a list, didn't we? Sleeping on the floor, plastic cutlery, pile of biscuits. If you're lucky.
I like the idea that she thinks that you sleep on the floor, but you also have to eat biscuits. Having skimmed milk and low fat and no sugar. Yeah, that scene it was Friday, it was today's episode, wasn't it, where Abby comes and visited her. Because we haven't seen a whole load of Debbie this week. It's just kind of sad, isn't it, really? But it's sweet as well because I love her. It's sweet, but it's really tragic that she's given up. Yeah, and she knows that she doesn't deserve to be in prison. Yeah, I know. Deep down. The thing about Debbie is that she's obviously a very driven and ambitious and practical woman. And so I love that she is actually thinking and taking steps to prepare herself physically and mentally for the ordeal of being in prison. Because you never normally see people thinking or doing anything about the fact that they've got a court. Like, sometimes they'll be like, oh, looking sad in the Rovers or whatever. But like Debbie, she is such a go-getter that she's like, well, I could sit around and worry or I could do something about it. So I better Debbie sleep is on the floor. Isn't she? Yeah, she is. And I think it's just funny and quirky, which is right. That's what Debbie down to a T, isn't it? Yeah. So Debbie is making arrangements, and Carl reminds her that she should probably not go to the funeral tomorrow. And Debbie says, "Yeah, I mean, I probably won't go." Cause
Nobody else is going, so I
I'm going.
won't be missed.
I'm going down. I'm going down the Trocadero with Carla and Lisa. We're gonna buy some margaritas. So Todd and Theo.
Sarah, she's not really sick. She just doesn't want to go to a funeral. She's already been to one Billy's funeral, and that's probably.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Todd and Theo join Summer in the florist picking out the wreaths and things, and Summer's finding it really difficult, and Theo is, also not coping and not really. Well, he can't explain why.
Well, yeah, exactly. We're starting to see. Well, I suppose we started a little bit beforehand, but this guilt of clicking Billy into that seat is starting to eat him up.
We see a bit of Kevin's woes as well, because Tyrone speaks to him and he is mad about the fact that Kevin's mad at Tyrone for not wanting to go after Carl, for running him over. Plus the roof in the office is leaking and it's ruined a load of paperwork in a filing cabinet.
Tell you what I want to know is, if it was pick a side, Theo, Carl or Kevin, I don't think you're going to get many people putting their flag down in Kevin's camp here, are you? Like, why would you side with him, the misery guts?
I know.
It's like, come on, guy, cheer yourself up. Worst things happen at sea.
Yeah, it's even leakier at sea. You think it's leaky here? Where's it leaking from? It's
in the office. It was dripping all over a filing cabinet.
I know, but where's it coming from? Is there nothing above the garage? Is Rita left the tap on?
No, I don't think so. I don't. Yeah.
Is Rita dead in the bath?
We've not seen Rita this week. That's a good point. Maybe that's the first scene on Monday's episode.
No.
Rita dead in the bath, and it all dripping down onto Kevin, and he's just going, "Oh, what's going on up there, Rita?" I don't know, but I really hope that either Kevin's story ends soon or he cheers the flip up, because it's just a bit of a bummer, bit of a downer.
Oh, I know. I've seen people talking about him and being sympathetic, and it's a good depiction of, men of a certain age. You never get to say that, do you? No, it's always women of a certain age, but men of a certain age and how they bottle their feelings up.
Isn't it at the end of the week, Abby?
But he's never bottled his feelings up of being a miserable sod. I don't understand why this is any different.
Well, he's either miserable overtly or he's quietly miserable. It doesn't really matter to me.
I know, how can you tell he's depressed?
That's it. Like, what was it at the end of the week? And I know we're skipping ahead a little bit here, but when Abby goes to the garage and he's there asleep in a car, and there's like, "Oh, what are you doing here? Get out!" And Abby says to Debbie, "Oh, I think there's something wrong with Kevin. He was extra cranky today." Is that how do you tell?
How do you tell, number one, and number two, what do you expect him to be like? His life's falling apart.
Well, she's worried that he's got depression, and that is the last route I want this story to go down.
I'm surprised he doesn't have depression.
Yeah, but I'm going to say, Kev, if you want to have depression, you've earned it. You've earned the right to have depression. Just don't tell me about it. Keep it to yourself. Go to counselling. Go and see our Toya. She's not on the show at the moment, barely. So you go and have some lovely counselling sessions with her, and come and see me again when you're being a bit chirpier.
Who was the last one who had depression?
Well, Lisa had depression.
Recently.
Lisa had counselling last year, didn't she?
Yeah, but
and obviously
else?
Summer was told to go to the counselling by Roy.
Oh God.
I mean,
it's okay.
I'm not downplaying anyone who's got depression. It's horrible, but there's enough misery going on in other parts of Coronation Street at the moment. I don't need it somewhere else, and I don't need labelling or feeling like I'm being taught about it, or that I should feel extra sad for somebody because he's got the label of being depressed.
It is just a TV show, and after a while, some of these things lose their impact.
Yeah, it was like when we had our grieving fatigue last year, when people just kept dying left, right, and centre, like Craig or what have you.
Care now.
Like, yeah,
shove them in a box.
Yeah.
Right, so
more Glenda, come on, get a bit of positivity.
Don't give Glenda depression.
Get some feather boas and samba and disco balls.
Do a quiz in the Rovers.
No, well, they did a quiz. Was that last week that Maggie, or was it this Monday that Maggie did a quiz?
Probably.
I think it was this Monday. She's taken over Jenny's quiz.
Well, Debbie goes to see Todd. He's sitting on Maxine's bench, and she sits next to him. And Todd tells her that it's not her fault. And she gives him an envelope with £3,000 in it to pay towards the funeral. And he gives it back to her and says, no, if anyone's to blame for Billy's death, it's me.
That was a really sad scene, wasn't it? Debbie just, again, desperately wanting to do something to...
Did he Did he tell her why he thinks... He did, didn't he?
What?
Why he thinks it's his fault.
Yes, I think so. With
I mean,
all this
and she's
stuff
like,
that's
what?
Theo.
I wish Theo comes over and stops them talking and says, you know, this is the money's dripping in Billy's blood, take it back.
That made me really mad. And I know I wasn't praising Theo earlier. I was just saying I would pick him to watch over Carl. But that bit, I was like, Theo, you arse. Because Debbie and Todd, I've got a whole lot of love for both of those, and I felt so sorry for them, and they're both feeling guilty for something that is not their fault.
No, I know.
And they're both trying between them, these people saying, it's my fault, what can we do to make it right? Whereas the real culprits here, they're just kind of walking around free.
Well, the pair of them turn up, because Carl comes along as well. Yeah. But before that, I just want to say, if only there had been more time for Debbie to speak to Todd about this, because anyone would have heard Todd's reasoning for why he thinks it's his fault and gone, no. Yeah, well, it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. I wanted this scene to be longer, and it was purposely frustrating. I think we were supposed to be going, oh no, it's Theo. But that I was really, really quite mad at him, because I wanted Todd to be told, it's not your fault. Nobody's saying it's you.
Apart from Theo.
Yeah.
So Carl comes and pushes Theo, who's telling Debbie that she's an evil cow. And so I think this is the first time, is it, that Carl and Theo sort of get mad at each other?
Yeah, this is the beginning of the feud.
So Debbie gets flustered and runs off, and Carl and Debbie go back to the hotel, and Carl's like, what are you doing with this money? Don't give it to them. And she says, I just wanted to help. And he tries to hug her, but she shakes him off and goes and puts the money away.
Yeah, puts it in the till.
I'll have it. She's going to need that for a commissary, isn't she? To buy ramen noodles in prison.
Yeah.
In the cafe, Summer and Todd talk about going to the funeral parlour. And Theo's looking miserable and saying he's sorry about everything. And Summer says, it's okay. She's, I've been all over the place as well. And Theo says, why don't you go and talk to Dev and tell him sorry about yesterday? So she goes off to do that. And Theo tells Todd he loves him. He's always on his side. And then the bishop comes over into the cafe. And Theo's like, can I have a chat with you, please?
So this is the same bishop that we've had for a while.
Yeah.
This is the bishop that Paul flashed or something one time when he was dancing around in the buff in the cafe in the flat.
He's been a bishop for a while. He's been hanging about, so it's nice to see him
not
back.
Billy's first bishop on the programme, because we had lovely Bishop John. I can't remember what this bishop's called.
It's called,
but it was actually quite a surprise to see him, because it's been a while since he's been on the show last. But it was nice that he was the one who did the funeral. I was wondering who it was going to be, because Billy can't do it himself, can he? Unless he's pre-recorded one.
Oh my God.
That shows that you're really organised.
Yeah, exactly.
Organising.
Picking out flowers.
Yeah, picking out the flowers and choosing the all things bright and beautiful and Oh Happy
Simple,
Day. Well, anyone could have picked Oh Happy Day for Billy's funeral. But yeah, actually, pre-recording, It's like when the doctor sometimes, after he dies and is regenerated, the old one beams a message into the TARDIS to his companion saying, don't worry, it's still me.
If you want to know more about posthumous appearances in the show, we did a Patreon episode about that. Our favourite ones. So Theo is telling the bishop he blames himself for Billy's death and he should have got him out of the coach, and he's crying about this, and he's saying, this is decisions I made on that night, they've changed Todd and Summer's lives. And Bishop says, you're just feeling survivor's guilt. Look to God for the answers. Open yourself up to God and to Billy. I know he'll be watching over you. Make peace by telling him what's going on in your heart.
I felt this was really good kind of character stuff, because I don't know whether Theo would still describe himself as being Christian. He's clearly not a regular churchgoer or anything like that, but having had such a long Christian upbringing for a lot of the younger part of his life, this is really kind of tapping into something that is going to resonate with him, isn't it? And do you believe that this is real guilt?
Yeah, why would it not be?
Does it make you feel any sorrier for him?
No.
I think because I am generally more of a forgiving and also gullible person than you, and you're like, no, you made a mistake, you can deal with it.
No.
Sorry.
One of my favourite sorts of characters are the overly moral characters. It seems to be always a man that this happens to in fiction. who are so sure of themselves and their moral superiority, who then do something really terrible and then get completely eaten up by it. That's my favourite kind of character.
Well, this is exactly what's going on with Theo here.
Yeah, I
it?
just love watching them fall apart and rip themselves to pieces inside out.
Like, if we were in early 2025 here, we would 100% have seen the ghost of Billy confronting Todd at some point by this time, wouldn't we?
Confronting Theo.
Theo, sorry. I'm getting my name wrong again, terrible. Yeah, this is a telltale coffin situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I love this. It's a great story. And I don't think that opening his heart to Billy's gonna help.
Because
Billy'd be like, "You did it, you bastard."
Well, it certainly made things worse for him at the end of the episode, didn't it?
Kevin comes into the pub later where Abby and Tyrone are, and he's like, "Oh, I'm depressed, I'm going." Theo is in the Undertaker's later, and George is like, "I've got to go and sort the car and get it valeted, so can you look after the funeral parlour? I'll be 20 minutes. And leaves Theo there with this coffin, which has got, obviously, dead Billy in it.
Dead Billy.
Would you be freaked out to be left in charge of a funeral parlour? I think I wouldn't mind if I wasn't going through an existential crisis.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, if you're in charge of a funeral parlour, you don't have to go into the back. You don't have to go into the chapel arrest, do you? Just to hang around with the corpses. But I think
I'll be going through all the bits.
I think lots of people would be possibly a little unnerved knowing that there was a dead body there. But for Theo to be trapped in a building with the person that he was responsible for the death of, yeah, that's gonna open up some feelings. That's gonna go cause a right monologue.
I know that when Christina, her boyfriend, was in the back, they were viewing the coffin and they opened it up and looked at it. But when they seal the coffin, they can't open it, can they?
I don't know.
There was a whole storyline about this.
Is this the Eileen Julie gotta mummify her, or whatever it is that they did? What's it called?
Yeah, take her brain out through her nose with a little pick.
What was it? Embalm, that's the word.
Yes. I'd want to go and peek at all the bodies. That's why I shouldn't be allowed.
They nail the coffin down, don't they? That's like,
they don't nail it. They have this special sealing. They do a special sealing.
Yeah, that's why, like, what's her name? Angela Harris thought that she did all right when she put the murder weapon that killed Tommy Harris in the coffin. And did Phelan hide something in a coffin one time? Or I remember, no, he did it in a conservatory.
Theo opens the coffin and there's dead Billy, and then he's like, "What's this?" There's a note in the corner that says that Debbie's Carl's mum? How's she secreted this in here?
Yeah, that another week goes by and that's still a secret kept.
Right, so he's there and he sees the coffin. Then we cut to Summer and Bernie in the shop, and Bernie tells Summer that she wants Paul's ashes to be buried with Billy. And Summer agrees, and Bernie says they might not grow old together, but it doesn't mean they can't spend eternity in each other's arms. That was very sweet.
I thought it was really, really sweet, but I do wish that the ashes had turned up earlier, because it all felt just like incredibly convenient. And I think Bernie, I think she even says in dialogue at some point this week, "Oh, it's what the universe wants, it's fate," and it just felt a little bit too tweed, isn't it?
I didn't mind.
What are the chances of that?
Bernie reminds Summer that she'll always be family, and at this point, everyone's family.
Well, we had a conversation earlier this week about what would happen with these ashes, didn't we? Like,
yeah, I was
do the
asking
ashes
you.
does the box of ashes just get put into the coffin?
Yeah, but
does he get Billy's ashes and then they just kind of put them together and shake them together? Or?
We were talking about, is Billy going to get cremated? And I don't think he is. I think he's going to get buried. But if they was cremated...
I thought that they said he was cremated today. This is the thing. Partly why I wasn't a huge fan of Wednesday's episode is the funeral all felt very, very rushed. And there was only, 2-3 scenes at church? Maybe it was more than that, but that's what it felt like. And I didn't feel that we got enough of knowing what happens.
The nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty. Yes, gritty ashes.
I would imagine Billy would want to get buried.
I would have thought that as well.
So then it's simple, you just put it in the grave. But if it gets cremated, do you put the ashes in the coffin and get them cremated together? Would that work? Would it, because the cremains are already as small as they'll get. They won't, like, that's it. It can't be destroyed anymore with fire. So would you end up with a massive pile?
I don't know.
I am really, I'm sorry to say how fascinated I am by wondering what you do if you want to If you've got ashes already, do you just mix them together? Because that feels wrong. I think it feels right to cremate them again together. Then they're probably mixed. But I think the process of mixing them together feels kind of weird to me. Like it's an artificial process you're doing. Whereas if you cremated them together, then it's like, oh, the universe kind of did it with fire.
I
Do you know what I mean?
Probably never know.
Whenever I'm making a cake, I like to mix it with fire to make sure it's properly combined.
We'll probably never know, but it was a nice ending to it, and
it felt very neat.
Yes, yeah, but it's really, really sad because they were such a lovely couple, and
it is really sad.
Scroll back, I know that they weren't a couple 3 years ago, but if you scroll back to the beginning when they first got together, not long before the MND stuff came along, you would never have thought, beginning of 2026, both dead. No. I wouldn't have had this on my decade bingo card.
No, I know.
You that.
I know.
But, life's cruel.
It is, and especially it's worse when
Producer's
you write it.
cuts, yeah.
Okay, so Theo's with the coffin, and this is the speech that he gives, and I'm going to read this out to you because Carl overhears this.
Okay, so you got to read it out in your best Theo voice. Start with, all right, cocker.
You decide what you would have picked up from this if you're Carl and overhearing the entire thing for some reason.
Yeah, how much did
Carl
hear?
And why was Carl going to the funeral parlour? Don't ask, not sure.
This is why it felt a little bit...
Cup of tea?
This is why it didn't really feel right to me. And maybe, and please write in and tell us if this is the case, there was some dialogue earlier in the episode of Carl saying, I need to pop along to the funeral parlour later for something.
I've just got to go and check out some wood.
Yeah, I
need to polish some brass, and I know that they've probably got some brass polisher.
This was an ultimate... this is the second moment of the week where I was like, oh no, it's not Carl's there, is he?
I thought this was great.
I loved that. I really... When we heard that door... Sorry, I will let you do your speech in a minute. But when we heard the door go, and it's like, someone's heard him, and my mind was just like filled with possibilities. Like, what if? Sam's good at overhearing things at the moment. Be, I didn't know, but it's like, is somebody else going to be brought into this story that's got nothing to do with it? Are we going to have an extra person in the mix here? But it's like, no, it's just bloody Carl again. How convenient it happens to be him. And I'm not adverse to the idea of there being a baddie versus baddie, but I just don't. Carl's sitting there grinning. I just wanted to wipe that smug grin off his face, quite frankly. But what was the speech, Gemma? What does Theo say to old Bill?
I'm glad you're letting me say it because I've actually memorised this. So I can perform it as a soliloquy.
Lies.
I'm going to be
You've memorised it so you can throw away your cards and then say, I'm just going to do it from the heart.
I'm actually going to do a small tour in local theatres with this piece. So if anybody wants a ticket, it's £5. He says, please believe me when I say I'm sorry. And this is how I'm going to do this on the stage as well. Billy, if I'd had time to think, if I'd have calmed myself down, I'd have got you out. You know I would. It was a moment of madness leaving you there, and I don't think I'll ever forgive myself. I'm so sorry, but I'm not an evil man. I'm not a killer. I'm just a bloke who loves his partner too much, maybe. Maybe to let anyone or anything get in the way, I don't know. I'm so sorry. I just hope you're at peace and that you can understand. What was that?
Yes, so...
I've added that bit myself. I think that's how I'm going to end. And then, bow, applause.
So, I mean, clearly by Wednesday's episode, Carl has inferred the truth from whatever of that speech he's heard. But he says, I'm not a killer.
That damning, is it? Really?
No, but I mean, you can read between the lines here.
It's not like he said, I'm sorry I killed you. He's like... If I'd had time to think, I would have got you out. It was a moment of madness leaving you there. What do you think? Does that feel like...
I mean, he didn't say...
On purpose.
On purpose, I clicked you back into your seat so there was no way that you could have escaped. Mwah-ha-ha-ha-ha. There was none of that. And I think Theo... if you were in the right frame of mind, then you possibly could have talked your way out of it and said... Yeah, you ever heard me saying that, but I was just saying da-da-da-da-da.
I was just feeling guilty.
But I think because Theo is wrong. So drowning in guilt through this at the moment, he hasn't got it in him to try and fight back because he's punishing himself. He thinks that he should be punished for it in a way, so he's not fighting against Carl.
What Carl knows,
Although he does a bit, I suppose,
is that Theo blames himself, and that really is all he needs to know. It doesn't really matter. He's got a weakness here that he can exploit.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care if he killed him or not. It's the fact that he thinks he did.
Well, I mean, it's just very convenient for him because he is trying to stop his sister getting sent down next week. Is it the trial, I think, for Debbie?
See, I never even wondered if that could come up from Carl.
No, I hadn't
I just
either.
thought he was going to blackmail him.
Yeah.
He's not going to do anything to help Debbie.
I just can't see by this time next week Carl announcing to all and sundry, hey, guess what I heard? But then Theo on Wednesday's episode, or was it Thursday, I think? Wednesday's episode does have something over Carl again because he sees him in Sally's Alley with the two Chariot Square raiders, doesn't he? So they're at a bit of a stalemate at the moment, but I think that Theo's done something a lot worse, and I think if Carl were to take the fall for it for the sake of his sister, who I think he must feel a bit of guilt, Carl. This is like I was saying, but he doesn't really ever seem to show it. But he must feel a little bit of guilt that his sister's going to prison for him. So if he says, you know what, I'm going to take a risk of Theo getting me in trouble for talking to the people who raided the bistro, I'm going to get Theo sent down for this, for the sake of my sister. I don't know, maybe that would be an honourable thing to do, and that might make me see him in a bit of a better light.
Yeah, okay, right, but how can this get Debbie out of being responsible?
She is being tried for death by dangerous driving.
She's not being tried for it, she's being charged.
Sorry, charged, because she's already pled guilty, hasn't she? You're right.
Okay, yeah, so if it turns out that in theory Billy could have got out, it doesn't really make any material difference to the charge of death by dangerous driving, because where does it end? Like, say Theo plugged him back in and then snuck out, okay, then what if somebody else came and unplugged him again and then plugged him back in? Would then Theo be off the hook? No, it doesn't work like that, does it?
No.
So the charge would still stand of dangerous driving. It just doesn't seem...
But I mean, of course, we've also got to say
Street,
Coronation Street legal system doesn't quite follow the
Justice Fairy does what she wants.
Yeah, basically. I mean, whatever happens with Debbie next week, there is not a chance in hell that she is going to have a long prison stretch, is she?
She'll die before that happens.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's going to be like 15 years or something.
Exactly. So Debbie might well be preparing for time in prison.
Yeah, but why would they not give her the proper full sentence?
Although, didn't she say to Abby today, like, when I get out, will I still be me, or something along those lines? And maybe she's been told that there's a reduced sentence.
Why?
But it's...
Anyway...
we just know that whether or not she gets sent down to go and, share a cell with Becky Swain, she is not going to be staying there for... That'll be brilliant. That'd be brilliant. They can share spiky hair care tips.
Yeah! Imagine Becky with Debbie's hair and Debbie with Becky's hair.
Oh, there's a Photoshop. We're just waiting to happen.
Somebody Photoshop it and send it to me. We haven't even said...
She's going to be fine eventually.
We haven't even said, but the camera... He hears the click at the door. He rushes out. Doesn't see anybody there. Nearly gets run over by a car, which would be quite ironic. The camera pans around.
Oh, yeah, he does that. I'm walking here.
I know, I was like, yeah! That's right, Americans. We can say it too. He sees Carl grinning away in the Trim Up North doorway, because he's the one who's overheard this conversation, as we've been alluding to the entire time. And I think that Carl grinning about this revelation made me like him, because it's such a weird response. It's such a moustache twirling way to, like, most characters would be like, oh my goodness me, a burdening knowledge that I have now. But he's like, oh, brilliant, I can use this. He's such a villain. He's such a good villain.
He's a sleazebag. He's not a good villain.
But the fact that he was... Right, okay, anybody else, okay, who was a villain, if they had come out... Like, he kind of came out like he was at the beginning of a musical about to start singing a song about triumph or something. Any other villain who'd overheard somebody like Theo that we all hate and ran away and then smiled at themselves like the Grinch, you would think that was great, wouldn't you?
If it was Becky, I'd be like, Becky, what are you going to do? But that's because I previously enjoyed watching Becky. And I can't think of anything that Carl could do at this stage that would make me go, God, he's a brilliant villain. Yeah. And I love villains on Coronation Street, but he is squarely in the category of, I just despise watching him. And Jonathan Howard is doing a fantastic job. But
I think he's great.
On
Wednesday,
he makes my skin crawl, honestly.
Theo is having a dream where Summer confronts him over the coffin. And this was not a great way to begin the episode.
No,
really.
this week's there was that on Wednesday, and then Thursday's episode opening up was the flash forward, wasn't it? So it was another bit of an experimental week this week.
We can't have it all the time.
It
just gets a bit weird.
100% unnecessary, I'm gonna say. Because
what
is it? Summer's there blaming him. Because does Theo think that it was Summer who overheard him at this point? I guess
maybe.
I guess in his unconscious state, his mind could well be just plugging in anyone into that scene. It could have almost been a whodunit dream, couldn't it?
It could have been. Again, the hilarious I know what you did last summer thing.
Yeah.
So he wakes up. Summer and Todd are getting ready in the lounge for the funeral. Sarah can't come. She and Harry are sick. Harry's probably been recast again. Summer asks Theo if he'll go to Shuttleworth with Paul's ashes with her, so he agrees. Dev and Bernie are in the cafe and she's trying to hold it together. She's worried about Summer. Carl comes in and starts being snarky with Ryan at the counter. Todd is trying to write this eulogy and struggling. He's got all these cards. He's reading it out to himself. And Theo's there looking guilty. And Todd's like, I thought this was... I'm not really happy with how this is sounding. Like, I wanted it to really, say what I want, what I mean. And I owe him so much. I need to get this right. So at the Undertaker's, George is worried about Todd. Theo asks him about whether he knew... He's obviously told George that somebody came in and then went at the funeral parlour, and he asks him, have you heard anything more about who it could have been? And George is like, nah, it was probably a major character.
Yeah, Theo's just kind of hoping that George is going to say, oh yeah, that was just Mrs. Miggins, wasn't it? Yeah.
The hearse is getting ready to go. Everybody's standing around.
Well, we use everybody loosely, but yes, there was Gemma and Chesney. There was, who else turns up?
Sean.
Oh yeah, Sean's
Carl,
there.
Theo,
I am
Ashley.
glad that they used Sean at least, because I don't think that they have explored Sean's grief about Billy's death as much as they could have done, because Sean would have been really, really cut up about this, and he's kind of been sidelined. I mean, there's not room for somebody else to feel sorry about him, really, is there? But I'm glad that they gave him a chance to have a bit of a cry on screen.
Carl sidles up to Theo and makes it clear that he was the one who overheard what he was saying to the corpse. Uh-oh. And in the church, they're playing All Things Bright and Beautiful. Pretty classic.
Yeah, see, if you're a vicar, and you've got the whole hymn book at your disposal,
and you've heard
and
them all.
Not just that, you got your proper bangers from like Spring Harvest '94 and all the way through to the modern
what about
songs of worship.
Yeah.
Would you go for All Things Bright and Beautiful?
What about if I had a hammer? If I had a hammer,
No.
boom, boom, I'd hammer in the evening.
I wonder.
Boom, boom.
I wonder how many vicars do go for the classics, because I would say All Things Bright and Beautiful is like what you go for. It's like, I don't know, what bloody hymn should we play? Who knows?
I don't think it's a
All
funeral
Things
song
Bright-
either. All Things Bright and Beautiful, all corpses decayed and rotted.
Neither's Oh Happy Day, I suppose.
No,
but
it's ironic though, isn't it?
Yes, it's like
Do you
people
have
are,
ironic songs at funerals, or is that too passive
I've never.
aggressive?
What, it's like Alanis Morissette. 10,000
Can you imagine
spoons.
the whole congregation singing? Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
Yeah, no, I just think that it's like if somebody were to ask us, who's your favourite Corrie character? And I suppose we do just generally default to some of the classics,
it's
like,
such a hard-
Hilda Ogden.
It's a really
And we've
hard
got
question.
hundreds and hundreds of characters at our disposal that we could pick, and some Corrie fans are very good at going for really niche ones. But yeah, maybe Billy is just a simple guy, and he actually does like all things bright and beautiful as his favourite him.
All things bright and beautiful.
What next?
All creatures great and small.
I should have hired you in.
Well, I mean, that's what Gemma was doing. Singing
She was
very
murdering
badly.
Oh Happy Day, wasn't she?
I'm not sure what I thought of that.
It was like, is it funny? No.
Is it needed? I don't know.
No.
Would you not know that you can't sing? I don't know.
This week, sadly, the funeral episode, which was full of lots of mourning and grief and sadness, also seemed to be, oh, look, you got Brian and Mary and Gemma on rotation. We got to put them in. Have we got to put them in? Yeah, it says in their contract they need to be in this week's episode. Let's have Kirk say some funny lines. Oh my gosh, no. There were a few too many attempted humour bits from some of those characters that aren't necessarily as funny as Corrie would maybe like us to think they are this week, I'm afraid to say.
Why is it also that on soaps in particular, the characters that can't sing don't know they can't sing and sing the loudest? Because it's not really that funny anymore. Anyway, I don't think I've ever found it funny when somebody can't sing. I've just realised.
No.
Anyway, so the bishop's leading the service and he invites Todd up to speak. And he starts trying to do his speech, but he stumbles. And Todd he goes up there, hugs him.
Theo. You did it. You got the name wrong for once. It's not just me that does it. I feel better now. Thanks for that, darling.
Thank you. So Todd leaves him with a speech to read out. And Theo begins to read it. But then he does a classic from the heart, puts it down, and does his own speech. And he says about how jealous he was, about how Todd and Billy were close, but Billy always made room. And he gets in a line about how if only Billy had stopped at the wedding an hour longer, he'd still be with them.
That was a real arsehole move, wasn't it?
What a bitchy thing to say.
Obviously, Theo hadn't prepared to say this, and it was kind of coming, it was a bit off the cuff. But I did find it odd how this huge mega grief that he was feeling and guilt, on Tuesday does kind of dissipate away by the end of the week, and by Friday he's there tra-la-la-ing as he cuts up Todd's bank card. Did you think that, do you think he thinks he's got away with it now just because...
He can't do, can he? Or does he think that he's in the clear?
Is he not... But it's not necessarily being in the clear, is it?
Mutually assured destruction.
Guilt is something different. He wasn't just feeling guilty because he thought he'd get in trouble for it. He genuinely, I think, thinks that he has done wrong here, and it's the old kind of Christian guilt catching up with him. So I don't know why it disappeared by the end of Friday, but maybe it'll come back again.
So he finishes the speech, the eulogy, by saying he hopes Billy is with Paul watching The Greatest Showman. He says, I hope you're not in pain and that you're at peace. Cheers, mate. I mean, being forced to watch The Greatest Showman for eternity sounds terrible to me.
Yeah, an odd speech that Todd very rightly and bravely calls him out on later by making it just a little bit about himself.
What's the point of doing a eulogy if you can't make it about yourself?
I was wondering. I didn't know what was going to be happening this week. I was wondering, was this going to be the public confession? Did you think that was coming at all?
No.
Too early for that?
No.
'Cause it was just like when Richard Hillman had to speak at Maxine's funeral, and I think that was when Norris was in the congregation there, or Archie or someone. He's saying, yeah, he did it. Look at him, the way that he's speaking, and yeah, there is no suspicion at all from anybody on Theo at the moment. Even Christina has gone back to thinking,
I'm disappointed
poor
in
old
Christina.
Theo. Yeah.
So Ryan is in the hotel, and some hotel ninjas come with a hammer and beat him up to get some money. And Carl pops out of nowhere and whacks one of them on the head, and they scurry it away.
Was it obviously a setup, or was I just lucky that I guessed? Did you think, this is a setup?
I don't know what I thought, to be honest with you. I think I was just too busy laughing at the fact that Ryan's been attacked by a ninja.
Gemma, you don't laugh at that because poor Ryan.
He's already
Lisa
been.
and Becky aren't. Lisa and little Carla aren't there to look after him.
Bistro ninja. Being attacked by a hotel ninja.
Yeah, it felt a little bit too convenient that Carl was there, but then more convenient conveniences have happened in the
He
past.
works there, so it's not really surprising. So Ryan tells the police officer what happened. Kit turns up, and Carl says, "Ah, no, they took £200 out of the till and £3,000 as well."
This was
From the
this is
safe.
the money he had in the envelope that he was going to give Todd, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's terrible news.
So it's just this whole thing was a way of getting an extra £3,000, right?
It's a great way of doing it, really, because
Yes.
otherwise you've got to have a funeral.
I suppose, Carl's the money that he took from Debbie before, he doesn't have anymore, does he?
exactly.
Because he's like basically
There's
had to
some-
start from the beginning again.
There's some hospice where everyone's slowly dying, being fed gold-covered truffles.
Yeah, all thanks to the lovely
Thanks
Debbie
to,
Webster.
to Abby, really.
Well, yeah.
So back at the pub later, Todd is mad at Theo about, making it about himself. And he says, Jan McVerry wrote a very lovely eulogy and you didn't even read it. You just made it all about you. And Theo says, I couldn't read those words because I felt bad about the fact that Billy's dead. If only I could have got him out of there.
Yeah, he kind of... That's the closest we get to a confession from Theo this week, isn't it? Saying it's my fault that Billy's dead. And
He's like, we had Corrie and everything, and I thought I was going to be like the main one who's a hero, and instead I turned out to be a murderer.
yeah.
So I was quite surprised when I read that script, to be honest with you. Todd's like, okay, it's not your fault. Let's go back inside. And Theo goes, you go on ahead without me. And he just so happens to see these ninjas with Carl in the alleyway
Next to Sally's house.
and take some photos
Sally's
of them.
alley. That, again, handy coincidence. But he doesn't realise what he's seeing there, does he? Because he speaks to Carl later and says, "Oh, are you dealing drugs to kids in the alleyway?" So that's what he thinks that he's got against him. But little does he know that it's actually a lot more.
Well,
But still not as condemning as the fact that Carl knows that he was responsible for Billy.
Well, they both have this conversation where Theo says to Carl, "Look at this photo," and Carl says, "Don't tell anybody." And Theo says, "You keep your mouth shut. You'll be in a box with Billy if not."
I wonder whether, he doesn't really appear on Thursday's episode because it's all about Bernie. Does Theo... I was saying that, his guilt kind of disappears by Friday, or it seems to, but I wonder whether the fact that he confessed to Todd in code, in a way... Theo did. Has that made him feel better about it? Or has it kind of removed the burden from his shoulders? I've said... It's my fault that Billy's dead. I'm glad I've got that off my chest.
He can't...
Todd's not interpreted it the way that I mean it, but I feel better having said it out loud rather than kept it bottled up for the last 3 weeks.
If only Protestants had confession.
Yes.
Coronation Street would be a very different show.
I mean, what the bishop was talking to Theo about was kind of tantamount to, maybe you should confess in some way, but... Not in the same way. Not. Well, he does. He says, "Open your heart to God. Open your heart to Billy." That's kind of like saying, maybe you should say out loud what you're feeling. Not the same as going to the booth and say it.
Who'd have thought that Henry VIII would have made Coronation Street such a radically different show than it could have been?
Do you remember?
Imagine how much fun it would be.
Do you remember Phelan's scene in the confession booth?
Yes, I do.
That was a good one.
Not much call for that prop on the shows.
No. But it is kind of interesting that that's a similarity possibly between Theo and Phelan, that they had some kind of religious background. It's more overtly there for Theo. It's more an important part of his character. But I think that one of the reasons why Phelan was so hesitant to become a killer was partly because of his Catholic background. And
doesn't stop lots of people.
And it did. No, I know. But it also did, because he was also guilty sometimes for what he did. And I think that
This is why I like these. I think it's fascinating. I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah. Because Carl has got no morals. He's not been brought up in a particularly moralistic way.
I know, but let's not pretend that people who aren't religious don't have morals.
No, but he doesn't. He doesn't have that to draw on. And you're right.
But if he
I
was
find
Catholic,
that people
he'd still
who
do the
do
same
have
thing.
something like that to just add an extra layer of complexity to their character, yes, that makes them in some ways can make them in some ways a more interesting villain. It doesn't, just because you're a Christian for serial killer, it doesn't mean you're automatically interesting or anything. I'm not saying
Imagine if Emily had been a serial killer.
Oh, I know. Maybe she
great.
is. Always the quiet ones.
We never found out. We never found her out.
No.
Fantastic.
I know she's
work.
up in Scotland now going, I think I got away with that one.
I hope they don't dig up the garden. Can you imagine the Baileys digging up the garden and finding all Emily's bones buried in there? Great. What a great storyline out of it.
Yeah, I think that she hunted down Ed Jackson and was like, you killed my Ernest. I know I said I forgave you, but nah.
No, it's a joke. Right, so on Friday, Theo gets this opens Todd's post about missed payments on this credit card he's got. I thought it had £7,000 on it. You said that the limit is £7,000, but either way, he's behind on the payments.
There's no way that Todd could have spent £7,000 in the last.
Well, he said I haven't got a job, so I've had to spend. You don't need to buy things.
Well, he's got his job back now, didn't he? He said I got it when I was out of work, but
yeah. How do you rack up £7,000? I guess it depends on whether he's still paying. Do they have a mortgage or is it rent? It's rent, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
Well, if he's paying his half of the rent, then that would make sense. And the bills?
Maybe. Maybe he's just got really expensive tastes.
Is that look, diamond cufflinks aren't free. So Todd's like, yeah, sorry, I didn't tell you about this, but I didn't realise it's going to be such a problem. It's taken me way longer than I thought to pay it off. And Theo says, like, I'll help you. Why don't we set up a joint account? I'll do that. And
as soon as he starts this, it's like, whoop, 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 financial abuse alert.
Go down the checklist.
It did feel a bit like this, and it doesn't feel like there's more needed. Like, he's already got Todd under the thumb.
Yeah.
It really felt like did you know that this is another sign that somebody might be being coercively controlled? And like, yeah, I know that. Did. We had that with Yasmin and Jeff, and it didn't. Some of the other things that he's done haven't felt quite so clunky and shoehorned in.
It felt box
as this
ticky.
did. It really, really did feel box ticky. It's like, what should we have them do next? Oh, I know. We could do this. Yeah, financial abuse it is. Just.
Well, so Todd goes to the shop and he's bought them some steaks, and Theo's like, "Oh no, well, you see, we thought we were going to be frugal here. I think what we should do is get rid of our bank cards and just use cash so we don't spend the money." Then he just takes Todd's card and cuts it into pieces.
Like, Todd's like, whoa, what are you doing?
And then he says, look, give me control of your online account, and then you don't have to worry about it and everything will be fine. I think it's because it happened in the space of 10 minutes. That kind of like, it just felt like, oh, what are we speed running this for? Yeah,
is it because it's a half an hour long episode, perhaps? If this was an hour long, I don't know, I think it would have still felt a little bit quick.
I thought that it would happen over a longer period of time than this, because it just feels like Todd already previously had been on the rocks with Theo, not really sure about their relationship, and in the space of 10 minutes, Theo's gone, I'm in control of all of your money, here's £10.
But also, as a viewer, is a bit more difficult to watch because we've seen Todd realise that he's being abused.
That's what I mean.
He's put the cameras there. He's
also mad at Theo about the eulogy. Why is he like, here's some steak?
I mean, it is part of the... I got mad at him. I don't want him to get mad at me. I'm going to buy some steak to...
I'm not saying that this situation couldn't happen, but it just doesn't feel... It doesn't gel with what I'm seeing other things happen on screen. Yeah,
and Todd really did look like he was rolling over a bit for Theo. I know he said, well, don't cut him a bank card, what are you doing? But
why is he doing it? Again,
is on Monday's episode, is he just going to be dancing to Theo's tune again, or is he going to be trying to escape? I don't know. I know that lots of people have given us and talked us reasons about why people don't leave their partner for this, but I feel like it should be Coronation Street that is making it clear why he is still sticking with him, and not just people saying, no, it does happen, out of the show.
Yeah.
But maybe you are coming towards the end. I've got no idea.
No.
No idea at all how long this story is running. It could be all over as far as we know. That was basically it for that story, wasn't it? Because I also wrote in the notes here about the stuff with Debbie and getting ready for prison, but we already talked about
And we've also talked about Kevin getting mad and Abby saying that she thinks that Kevin's depressed.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't he be? Honestly, it'd be mad if he wasn't. I don't know enough about... I think we use the word depressed in such an irresponsible way in the world. It feels like we should... You know how, like, when people abuse a word, we end up using a different word because everyone's ruined the original word that we had to describe things.
I would give some examples, but we're not allowed to say those words.
We literally cannot say any of the things I'm alluding to. It feels like depression is one of those words because...
Well, it's also like, I've got OCD, I've got a bit of OCD.
Yeah, it's like you don't know, do you? Because it's actually quite debilitating. Like, depression... And But
I think you can get a bit po-faced about things like this. And it's like, well, I'm not saying I'm actually diagnosed with it, but...
I know, but... I don't know enough about depression because we don't distinguish between, like, clinical depression and... other things, and there are also different sorts of depression. There's like a chemical imbalance, but it's also like, you should be bloody depressed. Like, you had cancer and your wife cheated on you and your sister's got dementia. Like,
the wheel has spun
should
and
have depression.
You pick your name out of the raffle this year for the
like what I mean, you can be treated for
year.
it, but if you weren't feeling that way, then it would be a bit strange. Like, it's okay to be, hashtags, inverted commas, depressed, but are you actually I don't know the difference.
So there were ups and downs in this. I did think that it wasn't the greatest tribute to Billy that it could be. I don't know exactly what I would have wanted other than just like maybe a bit more, but I don't know what more that would have actually looked like. I think that was a casualty of the half-hour episodes, but then you got Thursday's episode with Bernie, which I thought was perfect for the 22-minute running time. Do you think that... I
think what would have made it better for me is if we'd had scenes outside. I think that when you get scenes
I totally
outside
agree.
of a church, you feel like you're getting your money's worth out of a funeral.
Yeah, because there were paparazzi shots when they
we all knew
filmed this. We knew that there was going to be a funeral coming, and we saw that, the selection of characters that were looking a bit sad, although I suppose they weren't even filming them, were they? Maybe Anthony Cotton was just a bit miserable having to go to the church to film
go on a location shoot. I think that if they're going to have a funeral and they're going to have it on location, they should always have the person who's died come along and dress up and pretend to be sad as well, just to throw everybody off.
Oh, he was doing his Dr. Frankenstein thing, wasn't he? he was, couldn't do it. But yeah, I think that having scenes outside the funeral would be good. Yeah, that is... More people. I don't know. I don't want to nitpick too much, but I was looking forward to Wednesday's episode, and maybe that was a problem. I kind of built it up thinking, I know it's going to be at the church. This is going to be grand. Paul's funeral. Yeah. I went away from it thinking, and I know that there was a whole thing with Paul's dad, with Denny turning up at the funeral that soured it a little bit. But I think the actual funeral itself, I was like, yeah, that was good. But this is just, it didn't quite do it, and I think partly it was the half an hour length, and partly because it was also Theo and Carl kind of locking horns as part of it, which I don't know, maybe that could have happened another time. But do you believe Theo when he told Carl, if you tell anyone you're going to be in a box with Billy? Do you think that Theo could he kill again? Is Theo going to be the next Weatherfield serial killer?
Well, I've seen people saying that they don't want that to happen because they feel like it cheapens the domestic abuse storyline.
Yeah, that's true. Because then it would turn into this is an issue storyline this is sensational now. It's not
enough that he's an abusive person. He has to be a murderer for us to.
Yeah.
And I definitely see that perspective. Abby does as well, but I don't think she cares because she's a cat. I mean, what was your question?
Could Theo actually kill Carl as he threatens to do? He says, he's going to be in a box with Billy.
I really think that one of them is going to end up dead out of this.
I mean...
I think it should be
Often
Theo.
Corrie villains do.
It should be Theo because that way the story, I don't know. I think that it should be Theo because we need to, like, a Webster needs to stay alive, I think.
I think it should be Carl because
But we've only just got him back from being not existing.
I think it should be Carl because partly Jeff ended up dead, and we were like, no, he needs to,
Pay for his crimes.
He needs to face up for what he's done and be punished for what he's done. And if you have another person in a similar story, in a similar situation, also, shuffling off their perch, then it'd be a bit of a missed opportunity again, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know.
What do you?
I don't want Theo to become a killer again, but
A killer again.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen.
I think
because Corrie
very
sometimes
could
can't
happen.
resist the urge to ramp it up a little bit, and you know what Ian McLeod has said about if you can make it.
Well, I go 30 miles an hour and you can go 100.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that he should kill Mal.
Mal.
Yes.
Do you think that Mal is going to end up being a villain, or should we just run down a bit about who Mal is?
Who is Mal?
What does Mal stand? What's it short for?
Mallory.
I did look this up.
Mallory Towers.
My
favourite book series.
I read that it could sometimes be Malcolm. Could be Mal.
No, sorry, I'm sorry, but if your name is
that what
Malcolm,
they used to call Malcolm Hebden? Can you imagine that? All right, Mal.
Just accept it.
Or Malachi was another one.
I don't think it's called Malachi.
I don't know. Like it's not in any way a common
I've never heard
shortened
anybody.
name. I have never heard anybody called Mal before. Mel, yes.
Yes.
As in Mel Brooks, but not Mal.
As in Melanie Brooks.
Or Mel as in Mel C.
Yeah.
Or B.
Not Melanie though. That's silly.
Yeah.
Mal.
Odd.
Doesn't sound like a name that makes like, hey, Mal, have you seen Mal? Where's Mal?
It does just sound like you're saying Mel wrong, doesn't it?
It's or like, do you mean shopping centre? Because we don't say that here. We say shopping centre.
Well, they made the Pall Mall joke, didn't they, Bernie and Mal, when they were off their cake on in the Chariot Square. But odd name, and nobody said maybe if they maybe put it in the script.
What?
Sorry, did you say Mel? And he said no, it's Mal. It's short for whatever, Mallory. Then I'll be happy. But
sorry for
any
listening.
Mals out there. As always,
Mal.
I can be critical of characters' names, and but
Mal.
It's
No,
because I know that
it
it means bad in French.
Yeah,
That's all I can think of. And then
Hello.
that's colouring my is he a villain?
Bonjour, je m'appelle Mal.
Oh yeah, if in a French soap opera it's like bonjour, je suis bad, then you're gonna have
Je suis Monsieur Bad.
Monsieur Bad. It's gonna put a certain image of them in your head
Like
before they have
your
a
name
chance
is
to show their personality.
Bad. What's your surname? Ass.
But yeah, maybe. Speaking of which,
What would that be? Maybe Mal Derriere.
speaking of which, it's been far too long since the glorious Susan Gaddis has made an appearance on Coronation Street.
She can diagnose some mal.
I'm very worried about her
malcontents.
long-term position on the show at the moment. Right, so the burnout storyline, malconduct. It starts off with the pros and cons, doesn't it? With Roy looking forward to meeting Alice today, and I was quite looking forward to on the podcast last week saying, "Oh, he's going to meet up with this person, this mysterious bloke on the that's got his phone." It was quite an interesting twist, but equally we were like saying, "Oh, who could it be?" They didn't show their face. It must be a character that we know.
Griff.
It was Griff, but actually no, it turned out to be nobody that we'd met before. Would it have made any difference had they shown his face, or did they just not show his face just to elicit this kind of speculation? But then is that the sort of speculation that you want to elicit if it's going to ultimately lead to... It can only lead to disappointment when it turns out, no, it's nobody you know.
People got a bit confused as well, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, people are still a bit confused about, is he still catfishing? Does Alice exist?
Yeah, because the big reveal of this week is, haha, it's not a catfishing storyline, is it? I think I really need to see Alice in person.
As well.
Is she going to be like a bit of a
she's gonna get
Curtis's
cast.
Goons or a bit of a Harvey 2025 character
Or Fat
who just
Brenda.
gets mentioned and isn't shown? Because it feels like we need to see Alice just because possibly we are completely supposed to believe Mal's story, because honestly, I think that he comes across as quite a nice guy. And I know that he
seems straightforward so far.
He does. He doesn't seem like he's got a hidden agenda.
Is Alice dead?
Maybe. Yes, he tried to kiss Bernie, but
Well,
he wasn't to know that she's the one half of a beloved couple.
Yeah, they're in a bed together in a hotel. I mean...
Yeah. I don't think that there was anything particularly that we've seen from Mal's actions this week that are like, he's a wrong un.
But equally, I'm confused because these letters and correspondence wasn't overtly romantic. It was everybody gassing Roy up, telling him that Alice fancied him.
Well, this is the thing. It was quite funny, and it was a very clever bit of direction, because we all saw that scene, and we're like, yeah, he's catfishing Roy, but you can watch it again, and it very much could be read as, he's just picked up his wife's phone and seen these messages.
Yeah, it looked like he had sent one.
Yeah, it looked like he'd sent one, but
all.
You could absolutely watch it back now and say, no, he has just discovered his wife's been having these secret text messages with Roy without telling him about it. His story 100% holds water from everything that we know about him so far. And I as I said earlier, I'm very trusting. I'm leaning towards believing him. And actually, he reminds me an awful lot of Jamie Kenner and Phil with 2 L's.
Yeah.
He's that, he's got the look, hasn't he?
I'm a hapless, slightly simple-minded man. Not simple-minded, but I'm a simple guy.
Yeah.
And I've stumbled across this terrain of weirdos who are going to ruin my life within 6 months.
Yeah. And so because he reminds me a bit of Phil with 2 L's, I'm also kind of leaning towards, I quite like him actually.
He does look like he could be a comedy character, but so far he hasn't.
But he also he seemed like a nice guy, and because I was watching Thursday's episode really just thinking, being reminded of David and Shona, he was the Dr. Harper of this, and I was thinking, is this just going to be a one and done character? But obviously not now. He's going to be hanging around for a little bit longer. But I think he was a really decent actor. Yeah. And those scenes with him and Bernie, also Jane Hazelgrove, absolutely magnificent during those. She was superb. It's like, they've got 2 really, really good actors here. Is this going to be a Dr. Harper situation who we also really rated? Never see him again. But no, we can enjoy him for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
I don't understand why he... Clearly there's trouble in this marriage between Alice and Mal already.
But I thought that he was kind of saying, we've been married 31 years and this has come out of the blue.
But why? But what, she was just writing letters. I don't understand.
I think that some of the things that she was saying were very clearly and overtly, I want to maybe enter into a romantic relationship with you here. I can't remember whether we'd actually read them out or not.
And here's my other question.
But I trust what Nina says when she thinks that it is.
Didn't they meet because of a prison pen pal scheme? So is Mal's son in prison? Or was Alice in prison? Or
yes.
What's happened with
No,
that?
you're right. Roy has said that Alice is the mother of a prisoner.
Yes.
So, yes, Bernie does have... So Mal does have a son in prison.
But didn't also the letter say something like, I'm going to be heading to your way soon?
I don't remember.
I think I remember that. Maybe I can check out the cafe.
Mm.
Do you remember that? No, you just said you didn't.
No, I do remember that.
So was that from the prisoner or was it from Alice?
I can't remember. But yeah, if Mal does have a child in prison, is it somebody that we know? But
it's got to be.
We do know that he's got a surname. He's called Mal Roper.
Mal Roper.
And we don't know anybody called Roper before. Is he ropering Roy in? That's the question.
Mal Roper sounds like a cookie cutter villain in some kind of sci-fi shoot 'em up. Oh God, the Mal Ropers are coming.
Right, look, this kind of there's a few scenes of this on Monday. As I say, he was supposed to meet Alice. Brian,
maybe the child in prison is a woman and she's got a different surname.
Maybe.
Because she is not feminist.
Maybe. Look.
But apparently you're not allowed to lock people up for not being feminists.
We had this terrible scene, I thought, with Mary and Brian in the cabin on Monday. just wittering on about romance. I can't even remember what it was.
What
but
do you want out of Coronation Street? Do you not want these little
I didn't want
scenes
that. It wasn't funny. It was just
nonsense?
come on, stop. Because they're arguing over if Alice turns up in makeup. Brian says, well, she's well up for it, and Mary says, no, au naturel, that's the tell. It just didn't work for me. It very much felt like right, we can tick off, we've done our classic Corrie comedy scene for the month. Good job, everybody. But yeah, sadly, as I said earlier, there were more to come of this. Roy doesn't end up going to see Alice because he's tied up with Summer because of her little breakdown that she's having. But on Tuesday we learn that he's sent her a forgiveness bouquet, and this is what then causes the drama on Thursday. Wednesday is when we start to see more of Bernie's
Sadness.
difficulty in processing the grief of losing not just her son but his husband in the space of a year and a half, and it felt we were saying what's her problem. Obviously we know that she's grieving, but she was kind of jumping on Dev a little bit, wasn't she, saying, oh, you're acting like a perfect husband for show. She was just being a bit mean to him, wasn't she? But you can't really blame her for her feelings being all over the place, but it felt like, to me, it was coming out of nowhere.
But now you saw Thursday, do you feel as though Wednesdays makes more sense in retrospect?
Yes, it makes more sense, but it still came out of nowhere. I think if we'd done a bit more to see a slow build up to this outburst that Dev was had to endure.
Sometimes that happens to you, doesn't it?
What?
Like, I get mad out of nowhere, but I don't really, do I? Because it's been building up for a while.
Maybe like with you, I don't see the subtle signs leading up to it, and I'm just being,
Maybe Dev didn't take the bins out.
Yeah, maybe. Did you take the bins back in today, by the way?
Yes, I did.
I forgot to take the bins in yesterday,
yes,
and I drove past them again this morning, and I was like, I'm in the car now.
The recycling bin needs sorting out, Michael, because it's stuck under the lid of the bin.
Okay. So, Thursday's episode was the Bernie special, and like we said earlier, I didn't see this coming. I didn't tune into Thursday's episode going, okay, this is the big Bernie episode. So it was a nice surprise, but a not nice surprise that it was what is this weird flash forward? Has Bernie ended up in bed with somebody?
When you come up with your puns, have you stumbled across the Bernie in?
Yeah.
Have you done a pun out of that?
I don't remember.
Like Bernie in trouble or something.
Bernie in, oh yeah, maybe.
Bernie in a hotel room.
Well, I almost had the opposite, didn't I, with my burn out this week. But...
Bernie
anyway.
out.
Right, so we get the flash forward of her in the hotel room, and we're like, what's going on there then? And then you see her putting on her makeup on the lounge table, and Dev saying, look, love, it's important that you grieve, but
get on with it.
She wants to get out there and get on with things. He's telling her, you don't need to rush to getting ready. He can tell that she is struggling here, and she's putting on a mask with her makeup to say, no, just let me be myself. And Dev's like, well, you know best, okay. He doesn't realise just what this is then going to spiral into.
Oh, I'll tell you what, he married a handful of a woman, didn't he?
He did a little bit.
What can you do with her?
We see a scene of her in the cafe, and she's getting a little bit snitty with Sally because she's still on edge.
This was part of the bit that I like the direction of, because you just follow Bernie. She's just doing her thing.
Yeah, it was a day in the life of Bernie. Yeah. Like we had a day in the life of like David and Shona on the Peep Show episode. I
thought this was great.
I just loved it.
I'm really surprised how many people hated it.
I know.
I don't know why as well, because people have said they didn't like it, but I haven't seen anyone explain particularly what it was they didn't like, apart from it being slow, which I don't agree with.
I saw some people saying that it was a little bit slow.
Doesn't mean that you don't think that, just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean that you don't genuinely think that.
I think I saw some people saying, oh look, she's grieving, why is she going around kind of partying and taking ecstasy?
That's silly. That's a silly...
No, I don't want to say, people's opinions are wrong. If that's what they think, that's what they think.
Yeah, but if
I think if people,
I'm not
we
being-
know that people grieve in different
Yeah, I'm
ways,
not
and
being rude, but
Bernie
you've got
wants
to
to
be
get
really
off her
young
head.
to not get that is just a coping come on, alcohol, drugs and alcohol are like the OG coping mechanisms.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this is when this bloke comes in, this Mal bloke, although I think it's a little while until we know what he's called, so I've referred to him as bloke in the script for a little while.
If he owned a DIY shop, what would it be called?
Malware.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or if he owned a clothes shop.
That would be what I would call my clothes if I was him.
Malware.
I'd have it on my suitcase.
Or if he had like a mapping app, it'd be Malware. Yeah?
Yeah.
There's all the... There's so
We
much
could do this all
possibilities.
night, couldn't we?
I think I'm done. Anyway, he comes in with this bunch of flowers that Roy sent to Alice the other day, and he punches him. And that's like came out of nowhere.
I know. And where were Carla and
Has
Lisa?
Roy been punched before? I don't know.
I'm sure he
He
has.
probably has. I think maybe... No, Christian punched Hayley, didn't he? But that was like, whoa, you don't punch Roy. That's what kind of puts us possibly on the bad foot with is he a bad guy? But he does genuinely apologise for it later when he realises he's got the wrong end of the stick. He thinks that that Roy and his wife are engaged in this illicit affair that he's stumbled upon looking on her phone.
Yeah, he doesn't. He thinks that.
He thinks they're at it like knives, which is an expression
Never
that I
heard of
had
that.
not heard of before.
He thinks
Sounds a bit
that
painful.
Roy knows that Alice is married, I guess.
Yeah. Roy has no idea. So what do we have then? Then we get Bernie getting home. She's disappeared off at this point, and Dev's like trying to say, look, let me just look after you, honey. Let me run you a nice hot bath. And she's like, no, I just need to have a shower and going out with the girls. And this was also one of my favourite parts of the episode, because although we didn't get lots of it, it was another opportunity for Debbie's gang Debbie wasn't part of it. This new gang
Debbie's practicing being in prison.
of middle-aged women friends who are just brilliant together. You know, Sally and Christina
Glenda.
and Glenda all together. It's like, oh my gosh, just make a special episode out of them. I suppose they did with Debbie's speech episode, didn't they? But yeah, that was fab.
I'd be annoyed if I was Glenda and Christina, because the reason why Benny didn't take you out to get drugs is because Sally's a narc.
She is, isn't she?
She wouldn't be.
She gets up to all kinds of sexual misdemeanors,
Yeah,
but
no
no
drugs.
drugs. Absolutely not. No. Right, so
I bet you
anyway.
Glenda and Christina would be right up for it.
Oh yeah, they probably
They'd
would,
probably
wouldn't
be
they?
like, yeah, I used to do this all the time.
Yeah. Well, Rosie did get into a bit of trouble with drugs before, didn't she? In the last
Well,
storyline
who hasn't
here.
smuggled drugs? Not me.
Anyway, Dev and Bernie have a falling out, and she's saying, "Look, you're just not listening to me, Dev," and as per usual, and that is true. Dev, as we saw with Asher, tries to fix things and is a little bit on the heavy-handed side with it, and he doesn't just let people work things out together because he is such a nice guy and he wants to think that he's helping people out, but it does come across as being a bit suffocating and smothering.
Yeah, it's a really great study of how two people can work really well in one way and not at all in another way, because she is so fiercely independent and she doesn't really want to be comforted either. She just wants to blow off steam and get it out of her system.
Yeah, whereas like Sunita, she was that bit younger than Dev, and although she was, she could certainly stand on her own 2 feet, I think there was an element of her. under his wing with her. Anyway, we then get the second flash forward, and it's like, oh yes, this is definitely a flash forward now because it's her sitting on the hotel. Oh no, she's leaving. No, this is when she's leaving the room, and Mal is there. We get to see, you've spent a night with him, and this is like, oh my gosh, no, don't do this to me, not please Bernie. But it turned out to be fine, so it's okay. Back at the cafe, you got Roy telling everybody that I would never pursue a married woman. The flowers were just an apology for me not showing up the other day. And Mal is just heartbroken because he realises that with these, this 2-month-long relationship via text that Roy and Alice have been having together, not once has she mentioned that she's been married for 31 years. I feel sorry for the guy, really, really do. We see the ladies gathering in the Rovers. This was an interesting little scene because Maggie was uncharacteristically nice and supportive here, wasn't she?
I think the best thing that could happen to Maggie would be her whole family dies in a fiery explosion, because she's actually fine when she's not around them.
You're right, yeah. There was no opportunity here for having a little snark at Eva.
Or like smothering the male child.
Yeah.
And she was like this with Asha too.
Yeah, and I've seen people before this week saying, well, maybe that was just a little flash in the pan with Asha, and it's true. For the most part, we have seen her just being absolutely vile, and your tolerance of that may vary. Some people like seeing horrible mother-in-law, and some people like saying, no, get rid of her. But this was a genuinely warm and supportive Maggie that I'd like to hope that we get to see a little bit more of, but I'm not holding out for it.
With Maggie, I just keep thinking back to what Evelyn was like, and we spoke about her a bit in our Patreon episode this week, so if you want to listen to that, you need to join our Patreon. But Evelyn was very ropey when she started. It took them a long time, surprisingly long time, to work out what they were going to do with her and how to make her the endearing, star of the show she is now. So the fact that Pauline McLennan's got such great comedic acting chops and they just haven't really got a balance right. I'm not surprised that they haven't, because this is a big task.
Yeah.
But I am not.
And if at the top of her character sheet is as mother-in-law from hell, then that's probably quite easy to lean into that, maybe just a little bit too much. But this was a lovely little scene with Maggie given free drinks and.
I'm not going to say that I don't think that there's a possibility that she's been written to have a short shelf life, because she's going to turn out to be unmasked as a murderer.
Oh yeah, for sure. Even though I will still say, watching that flashback episode, didn't push him.
Alan would disagree.
So the drinks keep on coming. Bernie's just downing them like anyone's business, and she just wants to get off her face. She just can't be doing with this.
She's fed up with being on the cake and the face.
Yes. And Maggie's trying to slow her down and saying, look, Paul and Billy are at peace now. We're the ones that are left to get on with it. Just don't do this, Bernie. But Bernie's like, I don't want to hear from this anymore. I'm heading off to Chariot Square.
How much do you reckon a room at Chariot Square sets you back a night?
I mean, it's supposed to be this fancy, luxurious hotel, isn't it? But looking at the hotel room itself, I don't know. Was it 150? 200? Do you reckon?
It feels like it's based off, what's it called?
The Midland?
The Midland. And, that's about right. 200, 250.
It feels like it wants to be the Midland, maybe, but it isn't quite.
Well,
quite
it's not really as big. The rooms are bigger, aren't they?
Yeah.
How's she got this cash to drop on a hotel room to go do drugs in? How much are drugs?
Is it not Mel who gets the hotel room? I can't remember.
Well, I mean,
not
he's
really sure.
an electrician, and they,
Oh yeah,
I think you're right, actually. So he must have left Alice, the marital home, and got a hotel room.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah,
okay.
she's there,
but what?
Just partaking of Ryan's cocktails.
He is doing all right in life, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing fine. Yeah,
if he can go off to the Chariot Square.
Oh, actually, this is Raphael that was serving her, wasn't it?
Love.
Didn't get a line.
He didn't even say anything or give a funny look or nothing.
He didn't. He was like, this is a serious episode this week. I'm gonna put my stony face on. I know, it was a bit of a Raphael waste. You're right. Anyway, Mel turns up. He's found. He obviously doesn't know that Bernie knows Roy, so he talks to her as if she's like an independent third party, and it's like, oh yeah, I've just found out my wife has been having an affair with some weirdo in an apron. and then she tells him about Paul and Billy.
I like the way she goes to him. Oh yeah, my son and his husband. Are you homophobic? And I was like, no, I want to be in the show longer than one episode.
Yeah, that was good. And anyway, later on, they're proudly singing along to the music on his phone there in front of the bar, and she's like, oh, this is great, let's go out clubbing. But he's like, oh, no, I don't really fancy it. Ryan comes along and is like, Bernie, I think you've had enough by this point. But she's like, no, I'm just getting started. I'm going to go off clubbing. Bye, Mel. It's off we go. I'm going to get off my cake. This is where that line comes in. But Mel says, well, it sounds good, but let's get drink up the minibar first. So I think he's trying to dissuade her gently from going out clubbing.
No, I don't think he cares.
Do you not?
No. Why would he care? Because he ends up taking the drugs with her anyway.
Yeah, I suppose so. Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe again, this is me seeing the good in him and thinking she's already.
I don't think he cares.
She's already 80% gone, and if she goes out clubbing, and I'm being a gentleman here. I don't know.
She's old enough to take care of herself.
Anyway, they do.
I
They go
think
back.
He just wants to drink more alcohol.
Maybe they go back to the room. They're clubbing to 90s rave music.
So they break into the macadamia nuts.
Yeah, definitely. They got some ecstasy tablets, and they're very much off their cake later, lying backwards on the bed.
What kind of cake is it? I reckon Bernie's Battenberg.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, a little bit of pink, a little bit of white.
Red velvet.
Oh, is that you, is it?
Yeah.
Bit of apple cider vinegar.
He leans in for a kiss, but it isn't rapey, is it?
It's more of a like, come on then, let's see what you think of this.
It is.
And she's like, no, I don't.
It's just a proposition.
And then he goes, fair enough.
Yeah, she kind of pushes him away. I did not get the impression whatsoever that he was.
His arm.
Yeah, it was just, there's a nice lady in bed with me. I've just found out that my wife's having it off with weirdo in an apron. Why not? So
exactly.
I don't want it to go down that route.
He doesn't even know that Bernie's also a weirdo in an apron.
Yeah, exactly. This is the point where Dev realises that Bernie's gone missing because Sally and co show up at number 7 with a kebab, and he's like, well, what do you mean she's not with you? So she gives her a ring, but not answering. She's still telling Mal about Paul, and he says a bit about Alice. Oh, what a disgrace of a mother she was to the twins. Bernie's getting really, really...
Bernie says that,
yeah. She's getting... That. No, that wasn't Alice. She's getting really maudlin about... Yeah, feeling that she's done just a terrible job, really, which we've seen glimmers of before, haven't we? Because she did. She, pretty much abandoned Gemma, didn't she?
Yeah. She says, I didn't grow up till I was 50.
Yeah.
Which I thought that line was great. Then this is when he leans in for a kiss, and she's like, pushed him up. No, he asked her for a kiss earlier, and she said no.
Oh,
and then he leaned in for a kiss because there's nothing more erotic than a woman telling you that she's a terrible mother.
But even though she had said previously no,
she
I still don't think that this is too...
And then carries on about Paul, which...
Yeah.
Maybe in an effort to put him off.
Yeah, she just kind of opens up and talks about how Billy was a piece of Paul and now he's gone too, and she sobs that they're both gone, and he's asleep by this time anyway. He's just totally blotto.
Oh, God.
So Dev's still trying to get in touch with Bernie. Ryan eventually comes into Bernie's room and he says, it's 2 a.m. now, I've got complaints about the noise.
The music is still going, and he comes in and says, we've had complaints about the noise, and then he leaves without turning the music off, which I thought was fantastic. He cannot stop being a DJ, even though he works.
I know, he's gone
hotel.
in there to say it because he feels like he's got some kind of responsibility but he thinks there's a bit of a banging tune as well. Yeah. He's got the glow sticks out in the corridor, him and Raphael. They're on a brilliant time outside. Anyway.
Well, he's looking around and seeing what's going on, and she keeps saying, "Oh, it's not what it looks like."
Yeah, she says that they only had one pill each, and he's like, Bernie, I didn't hear that. But he's also probably thinking, you got any more? Because Ryan was...
How many did you have
Ryan
to
has totally been a druggie in the past. Anyway, and then the final scene of the episode was that, when we were saying about earlier, the possibly pointless, I don't know, was it just there for a cliffhanger? Her being collapsed by a club grotty toilet.
It just shows how low she sunk at the end of the night.
I suppose so.
Her absolute literal lowest.
I already felt that she was at a low point. I don't know whether this needed.
There's a big difference between sleeping in a nice, comfortable bed in a hotel room and sleeping with your arms wrapped around a toilet.
There must have been a proper reason for it, because they didn't, move to a different location for this toilet, which I assume was just a toilet in Coronation Street. I don't know. Maybe just because I don't know. It was a great scene. That's why.
I can tell you never fallen asleep hugging a toilet in a club.
I have never fallen asleep hugging a toilet in a club. You are absolutely
never
right.
have I ever.
Yeah. They must have done it for some reason. Otherwise, they wouldn't.
What do you think the reason is?
You're right. I suppose it makes sense. Friday, we just see her leaving hospital. And
yes.
She's...
The girls opened the door and she was unconscious, so they clearly phoned an ambulance.
Yeah. It's Brody's 17th birthday party today, and I think when I saw that notification pop up on her phone, again, I didn't have any knowledge going into the episode that that's what we were letting ourselves in for. I was like, oh, This is going to be a Brody episode. I don't need that, you know. I don't have anything really against Brody,
well, here's Lisa Swain with not even a birth date, and Brody's barely been in it, and he's having a party full of characters and a cake.
So Dev's meanwhile getting very panicky at home. Kit and Ash are reassuring him.
Pants. I don't understand why everyone's being so chill about this. This is Coronation Street. She's probably
Dev's not
dead.
being chill.
She's not. He hasn't called the police.
I think that they know that she's a bit of a wild card, and I think he's probably part of him's thinking, you know, what Ash is saying is probably right. She probably has just gone out on the Raz and maybe partaken a bit too much.
I think we haven't seen Bernie ever do this. We know she's told us a million times she used to do this all the time, but it's really super concerning that she didn't come home.
Yeah, you're right.
Where would she
be? I don't think we have actually seen it. We've seen her
saying.
We've seen her saying it. We've seen her have a party in the street, and we've seen her raving in the house and stuff. But you're right. I don't think we'd seen her actually go out and get into danger.
Mind you, don't know what she did by herself at Stonehenge on her honeymoon.
Yeah. Well, what happens at Stonehenge stays at Stonehenge, Gemma.
That's what we say.
So,
down south.
People are looking for Bernie, people are looking for Bernie, people are looking for Bernie. That's basically it. Ryan sees Gemma and says, well, I can tell you I know where Bernie was last night. So Gemma is kind of the secret keeper for this. Dev still doesn't know by the end of the episode, does he? It was just exactly what happened there. Then we get our next coincidence of the week, which is there's some kind of electricity problem in the flat upstairs at the cafe. And who should be the electrician that's called in from the Checkatrade website but Mal? Yes. What are the chances? What are the chances? And Roy enlists him to... What is it? I can't remember what they said was wrong with their flat.
Intermittent fault.
Yeah, but apparently it sounds like quite a big job. So Roy says... Because Mal apologises, basically, for what happened yesterday. And he says, look, I've split up with my wife. And Roy takes pity on him and says, well, if I give you payment in advance, will you get cracking on this straight away? So, yeah, Mal, for the time being, is going to be based in Roy's roles. I assume we won't see him in the flat because that flat isn't on the rotation at the moment. But yeah, he's going to be on the show for a little while to come. Whether or not he's going to stay and he is, and like Jodie, another new character that he's going to be in the top 10 by the year, I don't know. Is he going to get romantically entangled with somebody? Do you think that there is a possibility here? And I really hope that the answer is no to this. But do you think that Bernie and Mal could get closer?
That would really annoy me.
It would super annoy me because it just feels like it's Carl and Abby again.
It's just like, no.
I don't need Bernie to have an affair. I really, really don't. And like I said...
I love Bernie and Dev together.
Yeah. And I like Mal. Let's just set him up with... Who can we set Mal up
Mary.
with? Who's around? Mary. Mal and Mary. Oh, no. I don't know. Although the shipping name would be Mallory, wouldn't it? I guess.
Mallory.
So anyway, Bernie turns up at the end at number 7 and Gemma's like, where on earth were you? What's gone on here? Because she knows. Dev's just fuming, isn't he? Do we actually see him utter a word to Bernie for the rest of the episode? He's just kind of staring, like, really mad at her. But also he knows that she's grieving, so he doesn't want to say anything.
But he's a really interesting character as well, because he's mature enough to get that he can't really say or do anything, and she's such a wild spirit that there's, you know, she as soon as she gets a sniff of anything controlling, she'll be out the door, I would imagine. And he's not. It's not that he would be controlling. It's just like out of concern. But he knows there's no point.
Yeah, he knows that he can't push her with this, and he knew what he was signing up for when he married her. But you know, he can't be picky, can he, at this stage? But he knows that Bernie is really lovely and is a good woman.
She's just having a really tough time.
Yeah,
and everyone deserves to go a bit crazy. She just Stephen Fried it.
So anyway, they all go around to Brody's party, blah, blah, blah. You got old Shanice and Joni there that have bought him a locket,
Why are they all playing with toilet roll?
What did they say? Toilet roll derby? It was bizarre.
What is that?
I don't know, and I don't want to know. There's big old balloons there. Sally's got a cake with no candles.
It's like they forget COVID ever happened. Disrespecting
Sally hadn't.
That's
why she didn't put the candles on the cake. She didn't want germs spreading.
No.
So
disgusting.
Did it need to be Brody's birthday today? I
What's
feel
the
like
problem?
it being Brody's birthday didn't add anything to the episode. I'm not as big a fan
You
of
can't
Brody
keep
as
saying,
everyone
why
is.
did this happen every scene? Like, why was Bernie in a toilet? Why was
I
it
know.
Brody's birthday? Well, they've got to do something.
I suppose so. Anyway, I've kind of jumped around the notes. I'm not really reading the notes at the moment. I'm just kind of remembering what happened. But
Imagine that.
Dev's mad at Bernie. Gemma takes Bernie outside and is like, I know what happened last night. You were with the bloke, were you? What's going on here? And she said, look, I'm just struggling to cope after Paul and Billy's deaths. I want to forget last night ever happened. But then, who should walk down the road? But it's Mel saying, oh, what are the chances of seeing you here? I've got a job round the corner. Because he doesn't actually say where the job is, does he?
No.
So I imagine that Monday morning,
She'll be
Bernie's
quite
going to rock
surprised.
up at work and go, oh, when you said round the corner, I thought you meant
Somewhere else.
the brewery. I don't know. But yeah. So I thought that I really, really enjoyed this story this week. I've got a lot of time for Bernie. I thought Jane Hazelgrove absolutely smashed it.
Yeah.
I thought the direction, I thought the script. Honestly, I was so surprised going online on Thursday night and seeing... Because it's not like we've always got our finger exactly on the pulse. But
Quite often I feel like I don't...
But this
don't.
was a case of we really... Our
Surprised.
views on it didn't
Yeah.
match with a lot of people that we saw.
Well,
But
I tell you what though, if you didn't like it, I bet it was fun to validate your opinion on Twitter.
yeah, absolutely.
By
We got an
going in.
episode we liked.
Yeah.
You got to have people agreeing with you that
Going,
it was
"That
a load
was
of rubbish."
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's nothing better than going online and seeing everyone hated something you hated.
I'm kind of half hopeful,
great.
half trepidatious about this story because I don't like Kev. I don't want to see somebody just in the pits of despair.
No, I know.
I don't want
I
to see
can't
that
see where
Bernie.
this is going.
I don't want it to turn into an affair with Mal. I
also-
don't want it to turn into her and Dev falling out. Like, I suppose me being a bit down on this episode was inevitable.
I don't want it to turn into a drug abuse storyline.
No. I don't know what it can be.
No.
And it's, soaps are showing about the human experience and reactions to things. And if this is us having a little exploration of Bernie's grief, okay. But I don't want it to be sad for too long. Let's, and maybe have a happy ending.
But I also don't want it to, have an affair or do drugs.
No. Right. Gemma, we've got over the massive hump of the two main storylines for this week, which I think, we're separated out well enough, and really all we're left with now is
Pregnant.
that little scallywag Megan Walsh, Miss Walsh, and what she's been up to this week. With lovely Sam.
She Will goes to Megan's door in the morning, and Chesney comes along and starts asking him how fast can he run 5k, and Will is like trying to ask Megan about Lee, and she says no, Lee fancied me and sent me a picture of his top off and whatever, but I told him no, and nothing happened. And
I think, does he believe this? I can't remember. This was him just saying I heard that, because Lee was crowing about how he'd had a bunk up with her up in Hull.
I think Will's gullible, so I think he does believe her. Then in the cafe, Leanne brings
He's gullible when she's concerned.
a jacket in a boy's jacket that Megan left, and says
No. This was a matte jacket that was in
the
flat.
Yes. Yeah. And Megan's like, oh, that's Daniel's, and Sam is there and hears this. I also think that Will let himself into the flat, and there's an insinuation that something happened in the flat between Megan and Will, and that's why his jacket was there, taken off.
Quite possibly.
I don't know. So she gives it back to Will at school, and Sam sees later on that Will is wearing this jacket and asks...
No, he's not wearing it. I think it was on the
Oh,
side.
right.
I can't remember
Okay,
why he was
it's
in the
there.
back of the Rovers, but he was, and he sees it, and he's like, okay.
says to Will, are you and Miss Walsh having an inappropriate relationship? And Will says, no, but you better not say that to anybody.
I've seen mixed reviews on Sam's behaviour in the script there, and saying, I get that a younger Sam might have said, I can't believe it, are you having an inappropriate sexual relationship with our teacher?
Didn't say sexual.
No, he didn't, but, it was inferred.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's totally the sort of thing that Sam would say, but some people would say that he's old enough and savvy enough now that he wouldn't be speaking like this.
I don't
Have
see
they just
why.
not changed the script for him
Why? I don't see why you would expect him to speak different. Like, why would you speak more formally as an 8-year-old?
I think when he was
part
younger,
of his personality.
when he was younger, he was more mature than, he was older than his years,
yeah.
And now and that was endearing when he would speak like that then, but now he's at an age where he should be talking a little bit more like a normal teenager. But this is what people are saying. I'm absolutely happy for Sam to still be speaking like this.
If he spoke like all the other ones, what would be the point of having different characters? You just
but
everybody
equally,
talks like a teenage boy.
At some point, unless they're gonna go down like the neurodivergent route or make him the new Roy, he does have to ease up a little bit, maybe.
I don't agree. I don't see why.
I don't know.
There's loads of nerdy characters who talk like this. There's loads of people that speak like this. You don't have to be on the spectrum or whatever. I don't care whether he is or not either.
Like I said, I just have deep worries that
Sam
isn't going to be in Corrie for long, and I worry what his future's going to be like.
I don't see why people think it makes more sense for an 8-year-old to speak like this than it does for however old he's supposed to be now.
No, it's not that it makes sense for an 8-year-old Sam to speak like that. It's just it's kind of cute for an 8-year-old to speak like that, and it's not cute for a 13, 14-year-old to say that.
Well, I don't.
But I don't mind. I thought it was absolutely.
Why
right
changes
it?
It doesn't make sense to change his personality because other children at the same age of him don't speak the same as that.
Yeah, that's fine.
It doesn't make any sense.
You don't need to argue with me because I'm on the same side as you.
Well, I'm not arguing with you. I'm arguing with them. So Sam says, "Well, this could be illegal. Miss Walsh is preying on you."
He's literally been there with his PSHE lessons.
I can see why you might think that he's being naive, but I think that if you think that there aren't children that are naive, you haven't spoken to any children. There are loads of children. Like, how old is Sam?
I can't remember whether he's supposed to be 13, 14. Oh no, maybe he's older than that because he was doing some coursework or something, wasn't he? So maybe
is he 16?
No, 15? Not at all. I don't even think that. I'm not sure. Children can be very morally righteous, and I think that this is what Will was like when he read that pregnancy pamphlet and he immediately started telling Megan about whatever he was telling her. You shouldn't be stressed because it hurts the baby. Yeah,
that's what you're like when you're a kid. You're so used to listening to people in authority telling you things that it just becomes the absolute truth. And
yeah, Sam is 14. He's going to be turning 15 in a few months.
Him saying this to Will feels very apt.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Will is with Megan in a booth in somewhere together.
Pub.
And she's saying, look, don't worry about it. Sam's not going to tell anybody. Then Maggie surprises Alia by telling her that Leanne offered to buy the pub. And Alia did not know anything about this. And Maggie's loving stirring the pot about this.
This was the little side story as well.
Make trouble.
Yeah.
So Leanne finds Sam in speed dial looking sad. And she's trying to get out of him what it is, and he won't say. And then Alia corners Leanne and moans at her. I know how moany Alia. And she's like, how have you told me about this? I thought I could trust you. And Leanne's like, no, you're just sounding her out. It was nothing. Don't worry about it. She's just trying to stir things up. I wouldn't have left you high and dry, I promise. Have I ever done anything wrong to you? Even when I was dating your dad all the way back then, I looked out for you. I'm not going to... But I thought to myself, no, she did. She was going to throw you under the bus earlier.
Yeah, she totally was.
She totally was going to. What was she going to do if Maggie said yes? Go, oh no, I was just joking. I was just seeing. I don't know. If I was Alia, I would still be mad. So Megan then comes over to where Sam is sitting looking sad. And this was such a sinister scene.
Yeah.
And Beth Nixon, who plays... is that her name?
Yeah.
She has suddenly become even I thought she was good before, but this is just where did this come from?
Because she has been, despite the fact that she's been doing these, very naughty things with a child, with a 15-year-old who's now turned 16, but whatever, she's still been played fairly sympathetically. And I don't think so, but I think that lots of people have gone, oh, but she seems so sweet. I don't understand why she's doing this.
Like, she must know it's wrong, so why is she doing this? But whereas she kind of unmasked herself a bit
This
here.
was a you bloody watch yourself,
And it's
Sam.
so funny because she's got a very sweet and open face. She's blonde and she's petite, so she's got this really, like, I'm very cute and harmless look about her. But when she was talking to Sam, it's like she had snake eyes, and her skin, it was like so tight and shiny, like a snake, like about to strike at him. And you suddenly realise that, like, she's got this. She turned her face into this evil looking.
Well, it was quite like we get with Theo, isn't it? Like, a lot of the time, Theo appears to be very kind of cheerful and yeah, but then he can just switch like that, and that's what we saw from Sam.
Very
to Sam,
steely and like confident.
It must have really probably put the frighteners on Sam because because he's such an intellectual and a teacher's petty. I think that he probably does have an awful lot of respect for his teachers.
Yeah,
and you know, he'd never say, "Oh, Mr. So and So, I hate him."
Yeah, but
he's like, "No, she's a teacher. Of course, I respect her." And a teacher, I can imagine he's never seen a teacher
do anything wrong.
So, I mean, teachers will say things and they might be shouty or whatever, but I don't think he's ever seen a teacher be
mean to him
so directly.
Yeah,
I don't think he's seen a teacher maybe be directly mean to anyone else because teachers are
very professional,
much maligned. Yeah,
because he hasn't been taught by Daniel, obviously.
So this was him. He thought that there was a teacher, and it was a wake up call. You're right.
Shock to the core.
Yeah.
So she says, "Look, I hear you've been having some funny thoughts about me. Some boys get crushes on me, some bigger than others. I'm just Will's coach. There's nothing more. But if anyone thought there was something going on, it wouldn't be very funny, would it? Do you understand?" And Sam's like, "Holy crap." I was like, holy crap as well.
You need to go and hide under my desk again, says Sam.
I know, it's duck and cover.
Don't go mute again, Sam. Come on,
fight it. It's like a nuclear bomb's gone off. So on Tuesday, Sam goes into the cafe and Megan and Leanne are having a chat. And Leanne is blithely saying, "Oh, no, you do what you want. You can decorate your room however you want. Apparently they've got you a set now."
Oh, for Megan, yeah.
So you can, because Megan is staying with Leanne. And this is a really fascinating development, really, because Megan is menacing Sam, who's Leanne's latest chicken she wants to hatch, egg she wants to hatch, and I wonder what she's going to think when she finds all of this out, which inevitably she will.
Yeah, it's a nice little setup. This. He just he's just sitting there staring, isn't he?
And they end up kind of, I don't know why they moved this entire scenario to a different food place, but it starts off in the cafe and later on it continues in Speed Dial because they're having a drink and Sam is there trying to do, eat his lunch or whatever and staring at Megan, and then Leanne goes off to wonder where the food is, and Sam says, "You don't need to try to intimidate me. I've got your message, but I still think it's very wrong what you're doing."
I thought that was very brave of him, actually.
Yeah.
And still in character because he is a quiet lad, but he's not a total wuss either, is he? And I think he believes in standing up for what's right, and here he's kind of steeling himself to say, "No, this is wrong. What you're doing."
I said,
because the world is so black and white to him.
Exactly, and especially more so when you're a child.
Yeah.
Like the idea of right and wrong is so, everything you read as a kid is all about right and wrong and baddies and goodies and standing up for your friends and what's right is not always the easiest thing. And Sam is kind of like we indoctrinate children with this kind of moral message, and I think that Sam is very susceptible to that because he's seen what happens when you don't follow those rules. Like his mum's dead.
Yeah.
And so I think that him being brave is very adorable.
It really was.
She says, "I don't know what you're talking about, but you better drop it if you know what's good for you." And again, so she's so sly.
Yeah, proper chilling.
And chilling. Yeah. And so she then goes off to find Daniel, who's in the pub marking.
As you do.
And he's marking some work that they've written about the Christmas Carol for some reason. And she takes Sam's work and puts it in her bag.
Yeah, he's got an essay there, hasn't he? And she stuffs it in her bag. Which you'd have thought that something might come out of that before the end of this week, but they were in no rush to continue this storyline because it was all the Bernie show from Wednesday onwards, wasn't it? Well, Bernie and Billy and Todd.
It's also funny because any other teacher, if I was any other teacher and Sam said to me, no, sir, I did hand it in. I've done the essay. There's a copy here I can give to you. I can literally prove that it was completed at this date, so it would have been handed in to you. You can prove that on the computer when you wrote something. If it was any other teacher, I'd be like, oh, well, it'll be fine because he'll just explain, or the teacher might say, yes, it's possible I lost your paper or something happened. Yeah. Daniel, no, he's a pig-headed idiot. And he'll be like, no, detention. Daniel, do something wrong. Mr. Osborne, never.
Yeah, totally.
You would never think that little Sam would not hand his homework in, would you? Of all the people.
And the fact that he's a neighbour, lives round the corner, literally. You could just pop in and say, you got it, what's going on there?
Would really like Nick to punch Daniel in the face. Do you think it's possible?
I just want Toya to appear in this storyline, that's all I want.
What do you think is going to happen with this essay, though?
I think it's a pretty low stakes plan for Megan, isn't it? Really? You got a detention. So that'll learn you. If you tell everyone about me sleeping with Will when he was 15, you'll be put in isolation and maybe 2 detentions and miss your break time.
I'm going to fail you at PE.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to take you off the team.
I don't think Sam is eyeing up a PE GCSE anytime soon.
It's really funny because they could. I mean, I don't know how they plan this story or what, but they could have made Megan a teacher that Sam would have wanted respect from or cared about or was in a position to screw his plans as like academic career up. But not being mean, but once you get to the age of 14, PE becomes completely irrelevant. Like, you have to do it, but you're not getting a GCSE in PE. Well,
you can choose to, can't you?
But it's Sam. Sam's not. He did say chess is a sport, so I don't think he knows the first thing about it.
But I almost think that Sam is the sort of child who, if it's on the curriculum, then it's important, and I'm going to grit my teeth and go through it.
He probably would say,
I need to do it.
Physical education is an important part of making sure you stay healthy.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe there's a bit of that as well. But
I don't know.
Anyway, I am. This storyline I've just been a bit like with, but the inclusion of Sam in it this week has really, really elevated it for me, and I can't wait for it to come back next week because I adore this kid.
Megan, unmasking herself as actually quite a Machiavellian.
Yeah.
Somebody who is prepared to go to great lengths to protect her secrets. We already saw her manipulating Lee, and now she's threatening Sam.
Yeah. And I tell you what, there wasn't a whole lot of Will in this story this week, so...
It's true. It's true.
Say no more. Right, that was this week in Coronation Street. That was everything that happened. A real up and down week for me. Thursday, absolutely superb. Tonight, I just wasn't feeling it. And the funeral on Wednesday was good, but it just didn't quite meet my expectations, unfortunately. I think this week I'm going to give Coronation Street...
I would have given Bernie's episode a 4.
I might have given Bernie's episode a 4 or even a 4.5. But yeah, some of the rest of the week did drag it down. But Sam being back in it really did up level it for me. I'm going to go with the classic 3.5 non-existent candles on Brody's birthday cake. I think out of 5 this week. Favourite character of the week, I went into this week with very little idea about what was going to happen. I knew it was going to be the funeral, but that was about it. But by the end of Tuesday, I was like, oh my gosh, Sam is easily heading for character of the week this week, and it's not even close. But the fact that we didn't see him on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday does potentially count against him, and I feel like I'm leaning towards I should be voting for Bernie to be the character of the week because she was fab. But I don't know.
I'm gonna give this week.
Was it? But it's real tough one between Bernie and Sam.
3.5 cakes of which I'm getting off my face on, and I'm gonna give it to Bernie.
Yeah. Okay.
Without hesitation, which makes me a better fan.
Am I giving it to Bernie this week?
I might give an honourable mention to Megan, just for those scenes where she just went so cold.
I'm not. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give it to Sam, because I was really happy for him to come back. I was glad that he was standing up for himself a little bit. Yeah, I don't need to justify myself too much. Sam it is. I think he's cracking. So that was this week's Street Talk.